Hello and welcome to the Inbetween Podcast. I'm usually host Joe Scott and I'm joined here by Tony Tones and RT. How are you, Tony?
Hello, another
It's
another
just
Wednesday.
there's just so many
Um,
T's in the intro, you know? Too many T's, I
there's
would
a lot of
say.
tea. I never thought about it, but you are right. There's a lot of
Mm.
teas.
Well, how are you
I'm all about the
today?
teas, though. Um,
Is it
I'm
tumultuous?
good. Tumult. Uh, yeah, yeah. That I don't know. I got like a ground force reference for some reason. Tumultuous
Ground
was something that happened.
force. Now that's a
Does
term I
anyone
haven't heard in
remember?
a long
Does anyone
time.
remember ground force?
With Alan Titchmarsh and Charlie
Oh
Dimmock
yeah,
and Tommy Walsh.
yep, yep.
Yeah. I think Charlie Dimmock still does like gardening shows for the BBC now. But I don't know what happened to Alan Titchmarsh. I think he do the Chelsea Flower Show? Is that what he
He
does
used
now?
to. I don't know if he still does, but he definitely used to. Yeah.
Was Alan Titchmarsh in the advert where he's like, I want to do a poo at Paul's? What? Do you remember that?
That, not really. I feel like I know what area you're talking about. I don't remember the advert explicitly.
I think it's a Syriac video with Alan Titchmarsh in it. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Anyway, obscure references aside. Uh, this is the In Between podcast. Talk about video games and
Yep.
everything in between. So the games I've been playing this week are I've Fallen for You, another Chinese visual novel dating sim. I've completed that. 4090s galore. I've been playing Somerville, which Somerville is. I played that on Game Pass. I decided to play that for Halloween. It's essentially like sort of a sci-fi game, but it's made by some of the original devs of like Limbo and maybe Inside. I'm not sure like with how many games there is, you know, from the original creator of this thing.
Yeah.
It's from a company. It's from a dev team called Jump Ship, and this is their first game. But it is very much like a sci-fi, slow-paced walking sim puzzle platformer sort of thing. So it is very much in the same vein as like a Limbo and Inside, but with sci-fi stuff.
Okay.
Then I've also been playing Metaphor Refantasio. I started playing the
Oh
demo,
yeah.
and I was like,
It was so good.
I was like, okay, so I was like playing the demo. And I was like, oh man, this is really good. Especially, have you heard the battle music for Metaphor Refantasio?
I listened to it with the stream. It's pretty good. Yeah.
I don't know. Did you hear the actual battle music? Because I got the
Yeah,
Persona
yeah. But
3
I
DLC that goes baby,
I heard
baby.
it
I got
before you switched
mass
into Persona
destruction.
3.
Okay.
I'm gonna say
Um,
now, I don't rate Persona 3 that highly. I think I much prefer the
you're
OG.
committing war crimes right now. But
It's not my thing. I don't like that thing. I don't like that style. Then.
But yeah, the Metaphor Fantasia music is fucking. They got like a Buddhist
Yeah,
priest to do like
yeah.
a Shinto style chant over like this
I
fantasy orchestral band, and it's just it's good.
Yeah, there's
It's
like
Atlas
a
music.
choir like atmosphere and stuff. It's like but like epic orchestra and choir is what I would describe it
I
with.
don't know if you saw, but I think it was at the Tokyo Game Show. They got the Buddhist monk to perform that song live, and I'm like, this shit
Oh, that's cool.
slaps.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But I played the demo and I was like, oh man, this is really good. I want to play more of this now. And your demo progress carries over to the full game.
Yeah, yeah. You have to do that if you're just doing like a snippet from the start. Like, I feel like you have to just allow the transfer to
That's
say,
how they
well,
prank you into playing more of it. But I
yeah,
played
yeah.
like
But imagine if they didn't. It's like imagine you have to play it through again and how awful that would be.
well the problem the demo for Metaphor is like the first 10 hours of the game potentially, depending on how long you spend. Like I think I spent like almost 10 hours just on the demo section because there's so much optional. There's an entirely like optional dungeon, and like which I think is the mine area. I'm not sure because people said there's an optional dungeon, but I don't know if that's specifically that area or if you actually have to go to that area. I did the mining area where there's a thing, because you have like an option to not engage in combat sometimes, like, because like with Persona 3 it's very like Tartarus, you go into this tower and you progress through this one area, but the metaphor is very much more like there's a bunch of different dungeons and there's a big open world. It's very different to Persona 3 in terms of its overall structure. You don't summon like Pokemon personas, you have like actual class archetypes, sort of like the job system in Final Fantasy. There's no relationships. It's more like a political game where you're just trying to improve your relations with like different race factions and also become more popular over all the people.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's weird how there's less like between characters and more between political stuff, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or other way you call it world interactions instead of character interactions.
but yeah, I was playing the demo of Metaphor Fantasia and I was like, oh yeah, I could talk about this in. I played it for a bit and I talk about this in Steam Next Fest, and then I was like, I can't talk about this in Steam Next Fest. There's too much to talk about. And then I played Catherine, and I was like, oh, I can talk about the demo of Metaphor Fantasia with Catherine as like here's 2 Atlas games. I've played 4 Atlas games, Tony. It's the Euro Japan, and I went from the start of this year being like, what is an Atlas, to spending hundreds of hours in Atlas games because they're just so fucking good. And then now I'm like, I think Metaphor needs its own video at some point. When I finish it, we'll deep dive into Metaphor because there are so many different systems in here to get into. It's good, but it's still some people are calling it like Persona 6. It's not Persona 6. It is very different in a lot of ways, and it feels to me
itch, maybe.
To me, it fit as somebody who's played Persona and Final Fantasy this year. This feels like Atlas making a Persona Final Fantasy game. It's weird. It's kind of like a weird mix mash of the two. In some ways,
I would say that from what I was looking at more than anything else. But it still has some classic Atlas stuff, I would say. But yeah, there's a lot more.
There's no funk music. Mechanics. There's no high schools. Okay.
Yeah, that's just the thing. But I mean, it's other mechanics. But
I need to have words. Whoever they removed the relationship system in a game where they finally made all the characters adults. You're telling me I can't romance Hulkenberg? I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, I know.
Whose idea was this?
That's what I said. There's a lot of RPGs with like you have like faction interactions, like you have faction relationships, and also you have companion relationships. So why can't you do both?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just feel like you always do companion relationships, but that's just me.
I've also been playing Res Infinite. You remember I played that Next Fest demo, Hyperbeat, I think it was called. And I was like, this game looks like Res, but I've never played Res. And then I was like, how much is Res? And I'm like, oh, it's on sale. Let me buy Res and play it. So I did. It's only like a couple of hours long, and it is... I can't... The only way I can describe it is you know those 90s films where they have like the hacking section? This feels like that, the game, but on LSD, is probably the easiest way to describe Res. It's not a rhythm game.
You like the 3D stuff hacking sections that's the game.
Yeah, I'm in the mainframe.
Right. Yeah. And it's like really not at all what you'd expect. Yeah.
There's music in this game, but it's more like you're flying around and fighting stuff. It's not a rhythm game. I wouldn't call it a rhythm game. Space. It's an on-rails shooter with music that is very important to the feeling of the game. Res is really interesting. I'm going to have to do a tangerine on Res, but Res is interesting.
But it sounds like the way around I would want it to be, whereas like you don't need music, but it's very important.
Yeah, also, really sick, on level 5, there's this song called The Mind Killer, and when you play it, there's this like a sample of California Soul that comes in. It's like da 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 da. I'm like, this is sick. I go into YouTube, I look up the soundtrack of Res Infinite, and the album version is like completely different. It doesn't have the sample of California Soul.
What? Okay.
Yeah, and it's way shorter than the actual in-game version. So I've just been listening to the in-game version, but like it kind of sucks that the album version is worse than the in-game version.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is to do with like licensing issues because of the sample of California Soul and stuff like that. But yeah, Rez has some really cool music, especially the track where the guy's just going gaming, gaming over and over again. That was a great track to game to. Also, not games I've been playing this week. I have been I've watched the film Alien 3, which after watching Alien and Alien 2, which are masterpieces, Alien 3 fucking sucks.
Did I not tell you that it sucked though?
But okay, so the problem is, I think I accidentally put on like the. It's so I was. I don't. It's not called a director's cut. It's something else.
Oh.
So a director's cut is when a director takes all of the cutting floor footage, and they put it together and they go, oh, I want this here, I wanted to put this scene in, and they curate it. And then there's another version of a director's cut where it's called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically they took all of the scenes that were shot. I think, is it called like the assembler's shot or something? Basically, they take all the bonus scenes that were filmed, they just shove them back into the film without any direction.
Extended aimlessness. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. There is a term people use, but I just call it extended because I never remember. But yeah,
it's called assembly cut, I believe.
I haven't watched. Okay, I've not watched that version, but I don't know how watching. I don't think it's going to improve it any by just watching the normal version.
Well, I watched that. This version makes it like 40 minutes longer.
Oh god!
And I went and I was reading. I was like, man, that was so fucking boring. Because the film itself is like 2 hours long, and then I'm watching the 240-minute version of Alien 3, and I'm like, this is so fucking long.
Why should it be 160? But yeah, sure.
It's definitely the most. It's definitely the most Warhammer Alien film I've seen so far.
Okay.
There's like this. She like crash lands on this planet of like bald men who've basically were in prison, but they've now come together to they voluntarily stayed on this like prison barge, like planet thing, in order to keep it together and work together under this new religion of brotherhood. And I'm like, yeah, this is some emperor level shit, you know.
I suppose I didn't. First, I didn't feel like that much to me, but like I guess you'd interpret it as that for sure.
Well, I mean, maybe not specifically like the Space Marines, but it's
no.
The atmosphere of this place is very like a Warhammer sort of area.
Sure.
But I have thoughts on Alien 3.
The way that they deal with it.
Also, for Halloween, I watched Scary Movie, the original parody movie that set them all off.
It's not my favorite.
It's the Wyan brothers, so it's like if you remember, like what they did, like White Chicks, and I think they directed a bunch of the Scary Movie stuff and a bunch of other like. Early 2000 horror. I wanted to see how poorly Scary Movie had aged, considering it came out It's almost the 25th anniversary of Scary Movie, Tony. Like it's that far away from when Scary Movie came out. But I wanted to watch it, and I couldn't believe how relevant Scary Movie was when they.
Oh yeah.
How topical it was when they mentioned the P Diddy party.
That's in
I was
there?
like, they literally have a scene where it's like, oh, she's just come from a P Diddy party, and I'm like, how is this film so fucking topical right now? What the hell is going on?
I just found it a little bit too in your face, like for my liking. Like,
there's definitely a lot of shit that aged really poorly in Scary Movie. That's for sure.
I can imagine that.
But the P Diddy line got me. I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
And quick go back to Alien. Are you gonna watch Alien 4?
I'm gonna watch every Alien film. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Okay.
Not only am I going to watch every Alien film, after Alien 4, we're going to watch every Predator film up until Alien versus
Yeah.
Predator. We're getting the
Okay.
full deep lore on aliens and predators. So, speaking of P. Diddy, um,
Allegedly. Not
allegedly,
proven yet.
allegedly.
It's not proven yet.
What was I going to say about? Scary Movie. It's just insane to me, like, because now I've seen Scream. Scary Movie is like one for one recreation of Scream. In like it's not like haha this is a parody. It's like literal one for one scenes of Scream recreated in Scary Movie. Like it's insane.
Like plagiarized almost.
It's like, well, there's no, like, my friend was watching it and they were like, I was like, this is like a one for one recreation of Scream. And she was like, there's no way in Scream that a character tries to escape through a cat flap in the garage and then the killer pulls the garage door up and kills them. I'm like, no, this is a one for one scene in Scream that happens. Like,
Sure, you're able to predict a Scary Movie at that point. Then you can go, "Well, this is going to happen next."
well, I knew a lot of plot points about Scary Movies because I've watched Scary Movie before I'd seen a lot of the films, and then now going back and doing it in the reverse order, and I'm like, oh, Scary, like, I haven't seen I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it like completely is like one for one, like I Know What You Did Last Summer sort of thing. I guess it's a parody, but because I was thinking about what Wes Craven would think of Scary Movie, considering how fucking meta his films are. And I think him on Scary Movie, he was basically like, he didn't see the point in Scary Movie because he was like, Scream is already sort of like a parody of scary movies in the first place.
Yeah. It just done more subtly, I suppose. That's my thing. Like, Scary Movie is very in your face, and then like other quote unquote parodies like are not.
And I think he didn't like it. I think famously, because I looked this up, he said he didn't like it because they basically like shot for shot recreated his movie, and they didn't give him any monetary royalties for that.
But you don't need to do for a parody, right? You can do it in a different way to make your point.
But if you've seen some of like the later Nightmare on Elm Street films or like Scream, you'll know how like fucking meta Wes Craven gets with a lot of his films, like to a point where I'm like, I almost think in another timeline he could have loved something like Scary Movie. But obviously, you know,
I feel like it was done in a different way. He could have done. I just feel like it's just it needs to be more different and more. I don't know, not in your face. That's my problem, I suppose. But
we're on to the anime section. Well, no, actually, we got Japanese after the anime section, but we're on to the anime section, which I know you won't care about, but I wanted to briefly mention. I finished Kaguya-sama Love is War. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm watching the English dub, right? The English dub narrator in this show is Space Dandy, and it's fucking awesome. I started watching it, and I was like, I know that voice. Who is that? And then I was like, wait a minute, that's Space fucking Dandy. One of my favorite shows of all time by Shinichiro Watanabe. And I'm like, damn, that's so cool. Like, literally, there's people on YouTube who make, like, compilations of the narrator in the English dub because, like, the voice actor for Space Andy turns him into, like, his own character in the English dub. It is fucking amazing. Then I started watching Mob Psycho 100, which is not about 100 people in a mob fighting people, which is what I thought it was. If, like, with no context, you hear the name Mob Psycho 100, I'm like, oh, this is a guy that has to fight 100 people in the mob. Turns out his name's Mob, and he's a psychic. Completely different to what I thought the show was originally about based on the title.
Psychic. Oh, I thought it was a Psycho level 100 locked in the slammer or something.
No, so, like, the general premise of the show is basically he's a psychic that's sort of devoid of personality, like or emotions, and then slowly over time, as people basically shit on him, he has like this percentage meter that goes up of when his true emotions come out. So if he gets like 100% sad, then he like erupts into like this big like psychic monster sort of thing, and all of his powers come out, sort of thing. That's sort of the general idea right now. But you want to know what I love about Mob Psycho 100? I love how fucking ugly everyone is. Like it's so refreshing to see a show where everyone's not like this super completely perfectly drawn person. People are fucking ugly in Mob Psycho, and I love it. Like people are like have elongated faces and buck teeth, and they're just I think they got like really creative with the art of this show. Like I love how like weird everybody looks. Oh, because I think somebody said Dan to Dan was like Mob Psycho, because I've been watching Dan to Dan every week. Which is a really good show, by the way, because it's coming out on Netflix every week as well, which is where a lot of anime just comes out like weekly the same time on Netflix now, which is nice to see, because it's been like 10 years since I watched a lot of anime. Like I remember Space Dandy was big at the time because the English dub was so close to the subbing of the actual show, and that was like 10 years ago. And now like you can go on Netflix and you can watch a dubbed version of an anime that's coming out the same time as the Japanese version is coming out on television. That's crazy. Like
it took a while before.
But I spoke to my brother a couple of days ago, and I was like, I got back into watching anime. I'm watching this show called Dan to Dan. And he said, I'm also watching Dan to Dan. So we talked about that for a bit, because that show is really good. He said I should watch. I said I was watching Mushishi because you recommended it. Then he recommended Solo Leveling. He said that was a good show. Oh, and Freeing.
Solo Leveling?
Yeah. I've been meaning to watch Freeing, but I don't know. Like, I'm not big on fantasy stuff. I'm not a big fantasy guy when it comes to like games or movies or anime or whatever. I don't know. I prefer like sci-fi stuff for the most part. Right. It's sort of more my genre. Then also I've been watching Blue Box, which is coming out weekly on Netflix, and that is like it's sort of like it was like it's half sports anime, half romance anime, but it's very much just romance anime with occasional badminton in it, I would say. Like, because the girl plays basketball. Okay. It's basically there's this guy who goes to school, and he's like there's this girl he likes who's a top level basketball player at the team, and then he's like he just got into the school for being a top level badminton player, but they only ever show scenes of him playing badminton, and they don't show like a single scene of her playing basketball. And I'm like, well, I guess she plays basketball. We only ever see badminton in this show.
It's fascinating. Okay.
And then I've literally just watched the first episode of this. It's called Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Tony, imagine, 15th century Europe, where people thought that the Earth was in the center of the universe, and if you said that it wasn't, you were fucking tortured and killed.
Well, you get locked up and under house arrest, but sure.
Well, imagine somebody went, that sounds cool, let's make an anime about that. That's what Orb is. Interesting. It's about basically
the Kepler.
Yeah, so basically they show like people with these heretical ideas that are studying the stars and figuring out that these heliocentric ideas, and they're basically like burning them at the stake, ripping off their fingernails, like re-educating them. And it's basically about this kid who's going to study theology, which is basically the science of understanding the understanding that God creates all of these things, and we shouldn't be thinking it's anything else. And somebody comes up to him and is like, he's been caught as a heretic, but he's recanted his knowledge, and he's like, I want to continue my research, and if you tell anyone, I'll fucking kill you. So he basically has been pulled into this world of discovering the truth. So yeah, that's kind of interesting.
So they're just gone for that, but like on, I guess, hyper extra torture and intrigue, I suppose, and extra information. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, what was that one called?
It's called Orb on the Movements of the Earth. It's coming out weekly on Netflix at the moment. So
Okay.
you don't have Netflix, do you? You don't have that anymore.
Not at the moment, but I could get it at any time.
All right. It might be coming out on Crunchyroll as well if you're interested in that.
Okay. I'm with that either at the moment, but
Hmm.
that might be
Well,
more worth it. Yeah.
but yeah, that show's been pretty interesting so far. But final show that I'll talk about in this intro to the show, Yakuza. We've both actually been watching this.
Yep. Yeah.
We finished
Very
watching
short.
The Expanse, and you were like, "We need a new watch party," or there was a gap.
We need to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We wanted to keep watching stuff because we like watching stuff together. And I was like, there's a new Amazon show that is based on Yakuza, the game series, and I'm very interested in watching it. And I think it was actually really good. I liked it.
I think it's really good.
I didn't love
feel
Yakuza, but I thought it was really good. I thought it was okay, you know?
I feel
Pretty
like
good.
if the final few episodes, if it went on for longer, final few episodes went in a different direction, I think I would have like really liked it. I think it could have, like, I feel like the logic kind of fell down.
Why Yakuza gets not a high rating from me? I was sitting there like, finally they're gonna go to the karaoke bar and they're gonna sing Baka Mitai.
Oh,
they didn't sing Baka Mitai once, bro. I couldn't believe it.
I think like we talked about this, like not recording, but like I honestly thought there should be a karaoke scene, not like taking away from the seriousness, but like as like the characters like unwinding, then something else then happens. Like maybe like karaoke is like the thing that they did or something, or one of them did, and then something went wrong after that or something. It's like a juxtaposition. I honestly was expecting that, and yeah, kind of a shame not to see it.
I think the character that was most like a Yakuza character was definitely Majima. Like he very much steals the show towards the end, where he's just he is very much like a Yakuza character. Because the thing about Yakuza is it's this really delicate balance between, at least from my understanding, I've played like an hour of Yakuza game, and from my understanding of like seeing it from pop culture is can be a like quite a heavy, serious show at some points, but it's very much interspersed with insane brawling with giant explosions and then really silly scenes like karaoke bars or going on dating apps and stuff like that. Like it is very like it has this blend between silly and serious.
I think hypercharged both in gruesomeness and silliness is what I got from like looking at like stuff for the games and things. So
it feels like a Dragon Yakuza, the show is very much just serious Yakuza throughout the entire thing, which is fine.
I'm okay with. It's just that the logic kind of breaks down for like why things are happening at the end. It's like it needed a little bit more time to have
also
reasoning for the characters.
What did you think about the time skip angle? Because at the beginning it was really fucking confusing to me. I liked that they kept putting like what year it was and showed the exact. Because I remember watching The Witcher. I remember watching the Witcher TV series and being like, man, they keep time skipping without saying anything, and it's so confusing.
There are shows where it makes sense where you don't mention that. Basically, there's a time and a place where you hide the time skip effectively to reveal it later. But if you're knowingly time skipping and there's no payoff for like suddenly revealing that it was a time skip, don't do that. Just show an obvious year. Like either say this was in the past. So maybe it makes sense not to know the exact year. In like a fantasy thing or something, but say like this is in the past, like make it obvious it's a flashback. But yeah, in this case, it's like it just showed the year. I think there's like 3 years it went between, like 95, 97, and 2005, something like along those lines. And it's like, just show the year. Like if you're obviously trying to show different time periods, just show the year. It's fine.
Well, so my question to Yakuza people would be: Does Kiryu just never kill anyone? Is that like a big thing about him? Is like he doesn't kill, because without the show he's like, I'm one of the good Yakuza. We don't kill people, basically. Is that like one of his defining character traits? Because I feel like over what has been like 6 different Yakuza games he's been in, like surely at some point he's killed somebody, Is it like Batman where he throws him off a
Well,
cliff and it's like, don't worry, he didn't kill him. That the gravity killed him, sort of situation.
I think most Batman, if he does push him off the cliff, that is the point of like he did kill someone, and that is later in Batman's life, at least in the non-shit versions of Batman.
Isn't there specifically a Batman that just goes around killing people? Isn't that like a
Yeah.
dark Batman?
Well, yeah, it is also there is that Batman. I don't know if that's and that might be I think that's separate from what I'm thinking of. But there's also like later in Bruce Wayne's life, like he doesn't like he is more willing to kill people. Like apparently the whole point of Batman v Superman is meant to be like late in Bruce Wayne's life. Obviously, that's never communicated in the films. At least not as far as I'm aware. I don't remember that bit.
Yeah. Is it? There was a version of
There might be
Batman
another
when
version.
there was a guy who took over for Batman when Batman broke his
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Is that the red? What's his name? No. Yeah, one Bruce Wayne gets really old. He also finds a replacement as well. But it's not. That's kind of.
Sorry.
Uh.
I'm also frantically googling things.
Oh, I can't remember. No, I thought I could find it easily. Like I thought
Is
it
it
was.
is it like Robin that becomes like takes over for him and he just
Robin? I don't think ever takes over. He might. Well, he might do anything. But there's like one of a Robin-like character who does basically take Batman's thing for a little bit.
what's his name?
And then
Like
people like say you're not the real Batman.
Nightwing or something? Is that
Yeah,
his name?
Nightwing. That is it. Yeah.
I know. I'm just going
That's
into
when they
Batman deep lore that I just don't know.
I believe
anything
that's when
about.
they thought he was dead, but was.
I think he just like Bane broke his back to fuck, and then everyone
Yeah,
was like, "Oh, he's gone," and then
he's dead.
he
Yeah.
gets rehabilitated.
But at the end of Batman's life, he also finds someone else. He has a different character name until he becomes the new Batman. And it's like then like the future Batman replaces him, sort of thing. So like Bruce Wayne deliberately goes to find someone to like be his successor.
Anyway. Is there anything you would like to know more about on this list of things that I've spoken about?
Well, I haven't won about Orb, but I kind of want to find out for myself. I might just look that up and
I've literally only watched the first
watch it myself.
episode, so
Yeah, I
don't
might
know more than
look
that.
into that
It
myself.
seems pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting premise for sure, which to me is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I know that's not true for most people. I don't know why that's so important to me, but it is.
No, I think having a strong premise is important for a lot of people.
Oh, it's important, but I don't think it's the most important thing for most people. I think most people will go, "Oh, it's in this premise isn't like it's not very good, but the characters are really good. People will watch it." I'm just like, no, I need a good premise. I can't. Characters alone don't do it for me.
If I see something that's made by like a director or somebody I like, I'll just usually check it out based on that sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we went. I think you gave a lot of information, so I'm happy.
Let's move on. First up, we have. Oh, where did this go? Oh, it's over here. Sandbox has an official Steam page now. If you don't know, Sandbox is the spiritual successor to Gary's Mod, and is basically.
It was always spelled like that.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I did not. Well, it's and I guess it's sand. Yeah, I never knew that. I never looked. I never looked into it. Okay.
But yeah, basically it is Gary's Mod, but so much more. It is Source 2, but it's also the ability to ship and even completely take your games outside of Sandbox and sell them as standalone things. It's basically a game
engine and game. Yeah.
Which is
game
cool
engine and game sandbox in its own right.
But yeah, I'm very like as somebody who has thousands of hours in Garry's Mod, I'm very excited for this. I am looking forward to trying this. My thing is, I'm going to be excited to see what other people make.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're looking
what...
forward to try the people stuff, right? You don't want to create stuff, do you?
No, I'm not a creative game dev guy, so
right.
I made the mistake of uploading a map to the Golf for Your Friends workshop, and I learned the hard way. You know, people can be cruel on the internet.
Oh yeah, people are dickheads. Well, okay, okay. The people who are vocal are dickheads. I don't want to like most people are actually silent. So.
Oh, did you hear that Nvidia GeForce Now has 100-hour a month streaming cap for all users? So Nvidia GeForce Now is the streaming service where you basically
a month 100.
Yeah. So I think they said that's an average of what, 3 hours a day?
Yeah.
It used
but
to be.
I can see you easily blowing through that if you're like really want to play something.
Yeah.
Like easily.
I've heard stories of people who would basically use stuff like GeForce Now and just set up like Stadia or God rest in peace Stadia. Or like Amazon Luna, which apparently still exists, by the way. That's Amazon's service.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
They're basically like set up an alt character in like a multiplayer game and just have them like idling 24/7 as like another bank for their stuff like that.
Right.
And that stuff must be eating server costs.
Is GeForce Now like once you run out of like your prime time that you have to then queue up with everyone who's like got free time, or is that a different service I'm thinking of?
GeForce Now allows you to use it for free, but you have to queue up and you're limited to what you can use. Yeah. If you pay for their more premium tiers, then you get access guaranteed, I believe.
So now you're
They've upgraded the medium tier to have 1440p and ultra wide support, and then there's the ultimate tier, which gives you, I think they call it 4080 tier, where it's like you get access to 4K high frame rate streaming.
But could you not? But what if you just wanted 2K but more hours? Like I just feel like you should like mix and match.
Let's have a look. I'll pull up here.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a little bit too short. I double it and maybe it would be fine.
There's a free version that's ad supported, long queue times, 1 hour. So you still, so there's still technically a queue even in the Ultimate Edition, the 4080 tier, but it has the shortest queue times. It says 8-hour session lengths.
Wait, how much?
So for the Ultimate tier for 4K 240 is £20 a month. And you get ads free as well, apparently. So apparently you can't use ray tracing on this tier. At least it says RTX on this tier.
Yeah. I assume that you're correct from that. Like the way it's saying it's on there means it's not.
Because like the 1440p tier is like 8 virtual CPUs, and then the ultimate tier is 16 virtual CPUs.
Yeah. I assume there's no ray tracing cores in the other one. Or it's not good enough to
Well, I would just say the enshittification of streaming services seemingly has continued, but because somebody was saying like, oh, if you knew that you would sign up to a service of GeForce Now and in like 6 months to a year's time it would become much worse, you wouldn't want to sign up to it. And then somebody was like, isn't that every single subscription service ever made? It just gets worse over time. It's like, that's literally what happens with every streaming service.
I just did the calculations. Like for £1,000, this is in pounds, right? Yeah, for £1,000 GPU, like you only have to own that for 4 years and 1 month before you break even on the ultimate tier, which I would argue is a long time, but shorter than what most people keep a GPU for. And £1,000 is a very expensive, good GPU.
So
I don't know. I can't.
Out of all of the streaming services, in terms of game streaming, xCloud I've heard is awful. PlayStation Now streaming, I've heard, is pretty bad. Apparently,
Yeah.
GeForce Now is really fucking good. Like,
Technically, yeah. I've heard it's one of the best.
it is. You get an insane amount of features. It is almost like flawless latency and image quality. It is very good.
Yep.
Also, it
There's
works
like some stream
differently.
degradation, but you
It's
can't
not.
see it.
It's not you streaming games that you don't own through a subscription service. You're paying
No.
£20 a month just to essentially rent out a PC, and you can play games that you already own that allow GeForce Now to be enabled through them.
But I do feel like, I know £20 isn't like that much, I suppose, but again, it's like if it within 4
£20
years,
a month
you can
is
make
kind
that.
of insane, I think, for a streaming.
Yeah, that's quite high, especially now. Like before, it was like you're renting a PC.
I mean that's
for
at
£20 a month. Now it's you're renting a PC for 100 hours. That's with a queue still.
That it is £20 a month at the 1 month plan tier, so you can get a 6 month plan for £100 for 6 months.
So you save £40.
Yeah.
It's still not a great value, I would argue.
Do you remember we were literally at a party for one of our friends' birthdays, and we were talking about streaming services, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I have Disney Plus because we have to watch the Disney stuff." And I said, "Are you sure you don't want to cancel Disney Plus? It literally costs £100 a year." And he said over £100 a year, and he said that can't be correct. There's no way I'm paying over £100 for Disney Plus. He looks it up like at the party. This guy I've just met, and he's just like, no way, hey, I'm paying over £100 for Disney Plus, and I'm like, yep. Streaming services are kind of fucked.
You point out they increased the price, and it was like, no, there's no way I'm paying that much.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, that's how they get you. You don't realize, like, it just becomes like it's just a cost, like a finance that comes out of my bank account. You don't keep track of it, right? Man, everything becoming a service absolutely sucks. Like, I think just sell a thing, sell a version, then sell another version later. Just could go back to that. That'd be great. Thank you.
I mean, technically, the current subscription services that I pay for right now are Game Pass and Discord Nitro. Those are the things that I'm personally sub to. I have other stuff that like my parents are sub to or my brother's sub to, and I use them. But that's the stuff that I'm like.
Plan, yeah.
I don't know. Discord Nitro has.
You don't pay for Amazon.
No, my dad has Amazon Prime. So
yeah.
I'm the other adult on the account.
Okay.
So I get that, and then he pays for the 4K Netflix, but they changed it so because we're in the same house, it doesn't matter if I use it as well. But if so I think my sister uses it as well, but it was cheaper to just have the one 4K plan and then use the new Netflix option to add another person to the subscription. So she's been added onto the account, and then she streams it from her house, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it is better to have like multiple people under the new Netflix system, even though it was technically free before they changed the rules.
Yeah. I still think it should be the old system, but yeah, it's still better than the new system, sure.
One of the ones that's super surprising is like Nintendo Switch Online is an insane deal. It's actually like very cheap. Like, I think it can go like £3 a month or something like that.
I would argue it doesn't offer as much though, so like I feel like it's.
Oh, did you not see that recently? I was about to say Nvidia. Nintendo made a app that lets you stream only Nintendo music.
What?
That is part of the.
So. Okay, interesting.
Yes.
So it's just like a player for their music, like from like all of their stuff.
It's called Nintendo Music, and it lets you stream hours of music from Nintendo games.
And that's included with the what's it called?
I think it's part of Nintendo. I actually haven't looked into it. Nintendo Music app for Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah, sure.
So that's
I don't
their
know.
value add, right? To be fair, I do like the emulation stuff on
I
Nintendo
like
Switch
I like the
Online.
animation stuff, but they should just sell it as its own thing. It should be a one-time payment.
Yeah.
Like it should be like you run it yourself, and so like I assume it's running on like their hardware, and then like it's streamed, or is it like running on the Switch?
It runs on the Switch. There is no
Okay.
streamed emulation
I don't
here.
understand why can't you just pay for a platform that has this emulation capability or as it included with the Switch as a backwards compatibility thing, because that makes way more. I don't know. I think it's good that it's there and that's like not being there, but it should be like its own separate thing you pay for once at the very least. Like you have to like continually pay for that. I just think is absolutely awful, even if it's cheap.
Yeah, this Nintendo app is just so like you can install on your phone, but you need a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, and then you've got to link it, and then you have a music app on your phone that plays only Nintendo music.
Yeah, I just pirate it. It'd be easier.
I was going to say you could just subscribe to Spotify.
Yeah.
But then with Spotify, you don't get access to emulation and online play for Tetris 99. So, and that's what I play,
No, but
my Nintendo online subscription.
Yeah, sure. But I was still saying you can get the Nintendo Online stuff, and then just get it on Spotify. It'd still be easier than what you just read out. It'd still be just a better experience.
Okay. Let's move on to. Also, the NVIDIA app is now in 1.0. So GeForce Experience is, I think,
I did see that
being phased out, and all of the control panel features are being moved to the NVIDIA app, and then they'll be merged into one.
All the features there now, right? Because I thought like they've somewhat recently made sure everything was basically there. Like there's nothing missing anymore now.
Every feature of the GeForce Experience is inside the NVIDIA app. There is most of the features of the control panel, but it's still missing some of the.
But there's still a few missing there. Okay.
They have put features into the control panel that were the most used first, and then they're adding more stuff later.
Okay, that's good. Because I saw it well received from like video game journalists and things on YouTube.
Yeah, I was watching the Hardware Unbox video about it, and still the ability to add per application settings to
that's not
games. No, it's in there. You can use it. It's been in like that for a long time. The control panel, when you do it, it lets you pull up a list of your most recently used apps, just any executable file you've used recently.
Yeah, which is really useful. Yeah.
The NVIDIA app version, you have to go and manually find the exe file through a file browser. There's no like recently used apps thing, which was super fucking useful. So the control panel is still the superior version of that right now.
Can they not just copy the code for that little tiny like drop down?
I've heard people are still having the issues of like the game profile. No, they've updated the app now so that HDR can be used with multi-monitors.
Oh, okay, nice.
I was going to say the issue I was having, that other people are having, that sometimes Game Pass versions of games are different from the Steam profile of games, and the GeForce app, the NVIDIA app, will update only the Steam executable version of the app, but it won't update the Game Pass version of it for some reason.
It doesn't list them separately as like two options you can like select.
Not that I know of, no. But
okay. That would make the most sense because they sometimes they are two completely different versions, right?
Well, yeah, usually there are different versions of the game because, like, literally, there's so much certification options that Xbox games have to go through on Game Pass that they're usually a few versions behind.
Yeah.
Next up, we have on announcements. Oh, Buckshot Roulette multiplayer is out now. This was released as a beta thing, but it's kind of been popping off. I've seen lots of people streaming this. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of Buckshot Roulette. It's one of my favorite, like, Balatro likes, what am I going to call them? gambling roguelites, deck builders, I guess. This looks really fun. I'm gonna have to convince 3 friends to buy Boxshot Roulette, I guess, and then test this out. This looks really cool.
I just trying to think of like what would be like a collective name for these. I don't know. I tend to be really bad at them. I don't know why. I don't know. So I just find it interesting to think about, like how to group things in general. I just quite like thinking about that. Though most people tend to disagree with my grouping. So
we have The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. We'll have Isaac Online will be a full online co-op mode with completion markers, alongside a considerable balance update that heavily focuses on buffing items that people thought were lackluster / bad. So I don't know if anyone remembers this, but for the longest time, The Binding of Isaac has had local co-op, and for the longest time, I would try and get it to work through Nvidia's old streaming, their old remote play service. I can't even remember what it's called.
I actually forgot they had that. So
yeah, that would allow you to play local multiplayer games. There's also
I know it's old and bad, but was it better than remote play at the time? Like Steam's remote play?
think some of the standards they put into that app, some of the newer apps like Moonlight, actually go into that, use some of those features they had. It wasn't a bad app by any stretch of the imagination. It was just it was early, and it was also I don't think it had the mind share of something like a button you press on Steam for streaming a game,
to try and get the kinks out, fix the bugs.
Yeah, we also got some actual gameplay footage of Ed McMillan's new game, Eugenics, which is a turn-based strategy RPG. It looks interesting, but we'll have to wait. I think the last game he came out with, The Legend of Bumbo, I don't know if people have changed their opinion on that, but it wasn't that popular when it released. The Legend of Bumbo. Let's have a look. It's mostly positive now, and very positive overall. So did he improve the game at all? Good roguelike that could benefit from more content, people are saying. It's a prequel to The Binding of Isaac made of cardboard. A puzzle-based deck-building roguelike. I remember this coming out, and people were like, yeah, it's kind of bare bones. I don't know. Something I should... Apparently I own... I think I bought the Binding of Isaac collection. Yeah.
To
check that out at some point. Let's move on to Cancellations. I don't know if you heard about this. Sega is delisting all of their classic games on Steam on December 6th.
What?
So if you don't know, most of the Sega games that exist on Steam are Dreamcast emulators in a wrapper, but there's also to my knowledge, Jet Set Radio is just a straight up PC port. I don't think it's a Dreamcast wrapper for a game. I'm not sure. Are these being emulated, or are they actual PC ports? I don't actually know. I think some of them might be, but this kind of sucks. We know they want to release modern versions of Jet Set Radio, and Crazy Taxi is getting a big release, but to just completely remove the original games from Steam, with Sonic Generations, they were we're gonna remove the game, delist it for no reason, which I'm okay, whatever. But then, not okay, whatever, but that's kind of fucking weird. I don't know why you're doing that. But then they were you can still get it as part of a bundle. Which I was okay.
Just even if I still stand, I think I said this before, but I still stand even if it's getting a remaster, and the remaster is better in every single way, right? I still feel there's a place for the original to be purchasable. I don't see why it needs to be removed. Even if it's confusing, is it that confusing? Just state it like what year. If like, even if it's the same name, just like here's the year it came out in brackets, and here's the new one. Like just keep it up. I don't like. What's it costing you? I don't get it.
It's crazy. I was literally thinking about purchasing Crazy Taxi like a few days before this news came out because I was. It's because fucking Tim Waltz was playing Crazy Taxi on stream, and somebody was like, they posted that Breaking Bad meme of like Walter in the car. It's like, no, Tim Waltz, that version of Crazy Taxi has all the Pizza Hut references removed, and it doesn't have the original soundtrack.
Yeah,
and I was like,
see that meme.
and I was like, surely modders have fixed this version of the game. Maybe I should just pick it up and play it. And now I'm hearing that in like a couple of weeks they're being delisted. The thing I think is kind of scummy as well is that they didn't do like a delisting sale, so these games are still kind of expensive for what they are.
The Dreamcast collection, is that everything, or is that? They're just 7 games. Okay.
Yeah. Which I own a couple of them. Like I have, of course, I've got the classics: Jet Set Radio, Sonic Adventure 2, and Sega Bass Fishing. But I don't have stuff like it's Crazy Taxi.
This is
Space Channel.
I own everything apart from Sonic Adventure 2. Apparently, I was just checking.
What? I think I own Sonic Adventure 2 because it's in the Sonic the Hedgehog bundle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which has like all of the Sonic the Hedgehog games in it.
But I must have bought a bundle at some point. I don't remember buying like Crazy Taxi or like Sonic Adventure DX or Space Channel 5 Part 2.
Space Channel 5 Part 2, I believe, is a rhythm game from the Dreamcast.
Yeah, I don't remember buying something like that.
And I also got like a VR port like last year or something.
Interesting, okay.
Man, I need to get these games.
So it's like is the Sonic the Hedgehog Legacy bundle also like being like completely removed as well then effectively?
No. So that's staying there
fine.
because that's the way that you can still purchase the original Sonic generations.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I've heard like Shadow the Hedgehog X Shadow Generations is fine. One thing that's crazy though is like the original Sonic Generations doesn't run at 60 FPS, but there's mods to get it to run at 120 through like the massive modding scene for Sonic games, like the Hedgehog engine stuff.
Yeah.
They made the Shadow portion of Sonic X Shadow Generations run at 120, but the Sonic Generations stuff is still locked to 60. So I'm like, okay, why didn't they go back and... I guess it was just too much of a legacy engine it would have required a lot of work, but it just feels weird that
too much work.
One of the games can run it, but there was literally a mod that let you run the original game at 120. Which I
my sense with a lot of these things is like it is possible. It's just like it takes too much effort. They don't want to like developers are expensive, so they'd be doing something else.
Well, we'll talk about that in terms of Linux news later. If we ever get there, because we actually spent a lot of time pissing about. What was I going to say? I wanted to see. Yeah, I have a craze like. You can tell me a game costs £1, but then I go, but if it cost 99p, it was on a 1% sale, then I would definitely pick it up. Like I have some sort of like mental illness that makes it so I can't buy games at full price, because even though I know that it would cost pretty much just, even if it's really cheap anyway, I'm like, but I need it to be on sale.
There's one problem I have is like when you sort like your wish list by sale, like obviously like if a game could be like say you got 2 games, right? One that's full price that's like £25. One that's 50% off and it's £30. It's like one of those is still cheaper than the other, but it doesn't show up when you like search for sale stuff. I mean, this is a pointless comparison. Like, it's assuming both games are like on the same tier list that you want to buy, and like you're just like choosing like whichever is cheapest, which I know is not actually what happens. But even if even though that does happen, like you wouldn't like the way I look for games, like I won't see it. So I've tried to be cognizant of that. I try to look for things on sale when I'm thinking about buying lots of games at once.
Quite the price history. Yeah. There was a Sega bundle on Humble Bundle that's expired.
Right.
Can't find it anywhere cheap right now. All-time low, minus 98% on Steam.
So is there a full list of all the games that are going to not be purchasable? Like, is there an easier way to just check everything? Okay.
If you go to Sega support. So like that, so there's a bunch of like Alice Kid in the Enchanted Castle. Like, so some of their like really old games on Steam are getting.
Right.
So I believe these are like NES emulator wrappers. So if you look here, we have the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis. Oh, so it's the Sega Mega Drive and Genesis classics. I don't know anything about these games because this is way. Oh, Echo the Dolphins being delisted? Okay. Hold up. Wait a minute. Apparently, I own Streets of Rage 2, Gunstar Heroes, Sonic Spinball, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I own Gold. Why do I own Golden Axe?
I don't know. I don't know any of these games. So yeah, it sucks to see these just not be as accessible or even accessible for a lot of people. So I mean, from my point of view, it's like, who cares? But like, just because it's not for me doesn't mean someone, it shouldn't be preserved or be purchasable to future people. So
I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be purchasable.
No, they should remain. Like, it's not a cost to them in any way. Like, I don't get it.
But yeah. Let's move on to releases, and we've got a huge release coming in this week. The 29th of October, we had Stellaris Grand Archive, which Tony tells me he literally owns.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You knew I owned it before I did. I only found out today that I owned this DLC.
So you told me there's something called Seasons in Stellaris that you can subscribe to for all the DLC of that season.
Well, I didn't subscribe to it. I bought it as a once thing. So like when the Machine Age came out like a couple of months ago, I think I bought a month after it came out. But I bought, like, I went, oh, okay, I want some of the other DLCs that came out as well, like the smaller DLCs. Like, fine, I'll just buy the Season 8 Season Pass, I think it's called. So it's a one-off buying thing. So that and I thought, okay, the Machine Age is the last DLC, surely. Then like it won't be. I didn't understand the season thing. I don't know if I still do, but I think I've got a guess. But yeah, and it turns out this DLC that just came out, Legacy, is the final DLC of Season 8. So apparently, I think it's just literally the year, right? It's been 8 years since Solaris, 2016, 20 something of May, I believe it originally came out. 25th of May, right? Something like that. I could check. I'm not going to.
I'm watching this. Anyway, I don't know. Have you seen the cinematic for this? It looks great.
Yeah. So those are Cthulhu pods, I believe.
I'm like, you have this gripping story. I think that guy with the mustache was the young boy from the start of the cinematic.
yeah. I was reading through the notes for this. It's actually kind of interesting. It's also
what was the question?
Here's a good litmus test. It's very positive review. That's actually most Stellaris
people
DLCs
usually
are
hate Paradox DLC stuff.
So the fact that it's positive, okay, they're not always correct, because sometimes they negative review stuff that are great and positive review stuff that I think sucks. But the fact that people like it is interesting. And the mechanics actually sound really cool. Like there's, as you saw, the Cthulhu monsters that hide as asteroids, and then there's worms that like space worms that feed on biomass and can become a mid-game plague, which I think sounds great to me. But I need to see that in action. That sounds really cool. There's some building of organic fleets and stuff as well, which sounds really cool. But I've not looked into it. I've not been keeping up with what's going on.
But you've been happy with Stellaris Season 8.
Season 8's been really good because especially because they had Machine Age and like the updates that came with that. Like it's actually been pretty good this year. I just not had that time. Well, I've not been prioritizing time to play it. Like I've obviously had time to play it. I just haven't been playing it.
Yeah, it seems like people really like Machine Age and saying, look,
Yeah,
you could just get Machine Age. Great. You don't have to get the other DLC.
No. I got the other just because like, it's like, oh, for like what I'm getting, like it's worth it to me. But I don't know. It was on sale at the time, I believe. Don't think it wasn't some. It was something. It was some sort of space sale, I think. But yeah, I would highly recommend Machine Age. Like, I genuinely like it's one of the best DLCs.
Oh, I don't know if you heard this, but did you hear about Amplitude Studios, the guys who did like the Endless Legend games and Humankind?
Oh,
they've they kind of been like they were being published by Sega, and I think they've sort of bought themselves out, or like I think Sega's like. Okay. We're not interested in working with you anymore, and they're like, oh, okay, we'll just do stuff on our own. More so than them, you know. They've gone independent, sort of thing, after 8 years of working with their publisher Sega.
I thought originally like they were by themselves, and it's like, oh, for monetary reasons, we're like pairing with Sega, and then they just stayed with. I guess I stayed with them until now, I guess. Maybe they published them to someone else. But I thought if their first sort of games were like self-published. I thought
maybe. I don't know too much about. I know that you've played the Endless games, and Humankind was like called the Civ Killer.
I haven't played. I had some interesting ideas, but I think it fell short on a lot of things.
Yeah, is that everything about Stellaris? Shall we move on to the next?
Yeah, I've not played it, so I can't say more. That there's some like a new origin and some civics, but I can't really say anything more. I'd have to try them out.
We could look at the reviews. Truly solid DLC. Beneficial content is fun, especially for people that already have an affinity for things like collecting collectibles. Challenging content is enough, so that is engaging, not frustrating. I first had worries over influence by the record of certain previous DLCs. This one is a pleasure at $15 in 2024 money as well. About as fair as to be expected. That doesn't tell me anything about this DLC.
No.
People said, sorry, while this new DLC isn't bad per se, I must admit I cannot get behind the Pokemon-themed gameplay for this DLC. What?
Yeah, there's like Pokemon-themed gameplay. Collect.
Oh, so you go around like collecting different species. What the fuck?
And if I quote the store page, it says there's more if you have other DLCs. Most live players do. So there might be more than 50. So don't.
So the idea is you just have a giant Pokedex and you're trying to collect all of the alien species.
I don't know. There seems to be like a new trader NPC that you can like maybe trade your collection for like rare. I don't know. I don't really. I don't really care about that. But
we'll figure it out later. 29th of October. We also had Clock Tower Rewind. This is one of the OG classic
Clock Tower
horror games about people getting chased around by a guy with a giant pair of scissors. Inspired a lot of like modern horror games, so interesting to see like what the remaster is like. All of the fun of the original with added features, sign me up. However, if you aren't a fan of the original game, I'd wait for a slight price drop before buying. That is what I wanted to know. What are you going to say?
Hang on. I don't understand. Surely, is there ever a point where like a remaster is like, if you didn't like the original game, you're going to like the new one?
No. I think so. I think I also initially read it like this. I think he's saying, look, if you're a fan of Clock Tower, you should buy this full price because you know what you're getting into. But he's saying if you've never played Clock Tower, but like, so me, for example, someone who's never played Clock Tower, I'm not a fan of the original game because I've never played it. So I think that's what he's saying.
Okay.
If you're somebody who's never played Clock Tower, just wait for a sale because it's not something you have to play right now.
Yeah, he's using the class of like not in the fan, not saying not the. This is really confusing to say. Okay.
The syntax.
So you say you're not a fan, normally means you don't like something, but I guess you're saying is like no. He's just excluding everyone who does like it.
Yeah, it does make sense. There's lots of stuff I'm not.
That makes sense. But that's not. colloquially
but
what it
that's
means.
technically because I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say, but in a different way. Yeah, okay. I'm glad we okay. Right, that makes more sense.
I have yet to experience it. Seems like people generally like it.
Why did
Karate
it if you know you're not a
Survivor.
fan?
30th of October, we have Jackie Chan Vampire Survivors. I was
Okay.
watching Twitch and I tuned into a stream and they were playing this game and I was like, is this fucking Jackie Chan Vampire Survivors? What the hell is going on? And yeah, it is. It looks fucking wild. It's I've only seen somebody playing it, but they were playing it. I had no idea what was happening. This person was Korean, and I had no idea what was happening because I don't speak Korean. But I was just like, so you pick up like karate moves, and then you have like it's almost like a Polaroid film strip, right? And the moves go on this strip, and you can like choose where you want them to go, and you like combo moves together. It just looked really interesting, but I had literally no idea what was going on. Let's have a look. This is the first Survivor type game that I've played. It takes the genre core idea and mixes it with Jackie Chan moves, where he did kung fu and used the environments to fight bad guys, and the game works wonderfully. When I first saw the game, I thought it was going to be a traditional action brawler type game where you have to manually attack the enemies. Instead, it's being a survivor game means you're not Jackie Chan for obvious reasons. Character would have auto attacks on set intervals where there are literal thousands of enemies trying to touch and punch you. And yes, I mean touch you because of this, in this genre, the enemy's body model only needs to touch you to damage you. But you also have an attack animation that deals extra damage to you. Oh, they also have one. Also, the game has a roguelike progression, RNG level, deck building progression system where you have to choose various cards to help you survive. The cards range from Kung Fu, or in this case, Karate, moves that have 3 different flavors: walking, speed, health, block, chance upgrade. Main gameplay loop outside deck building is to just literally walk around the entire game and also avoid being touched and knocking hordes of enemies with your karate. Mind you, all the attacks have set intervals, and you can also pick weapons made of everyday objects that are scattered around the level, exactly like Jackie Chan movies. So that's one thing. So like, you'll be like, have a bunch of guys coming towards you, and there'll be like a wheelbarrow that you can like push, and it'll knock down a bunch of enemies. Or like you can, oh shit, there's a bunch of enemies that are about to get me, and I'm on this building. I'll take this flagpole and swing across to the next building to get away from them. It looked, you know what it reminded me of? Sleeping Dogs. I'm like, it's like it's like it's that Hong Kong fucking karate like environmental fighting style.
Hong Kong man.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit different, but yeah. Is this okay? So is this a continuous map or deal? Are these like set levels?
I think it's a set level. I think it's like Vampire Survivors, and then
Vampire Survive combat, but then set levels, or like set.
What do you mean? Vampire Survivors has set levels. What do you mean?
As well, okay, right.
What do you mean by set levels?
I guess I guess I'm thinking of like more intricate story-based levels more than just like how Vampire Survive does it. Is what I'm thinking. Maybe that's how.
No, so Vampire Survivors, you have like you start in like the forest and you walk around the forest.
Yeah.
Eventually,
so there's not much.
You can unlock the library,
and then
sure. Some of the later ones there's a lot more to them, but the first ones are very simple. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because to me, they just look like Vampire Survivors, just like a big one map. It just looked like one, like just like this was it.
No, the deeper you get into Vampire Survivors, the more complicated it gets. Yeah.
Right.
I'm wondering if there's like in between stuff where you can be like, because in Vampire Survivors, when you go from being inside the roguelike section, then there's like upgrades you can do that are like permanent progress. That's what I'm wondering, if there is permanent progress.
I think it's all permanent progress.
Not sure. I have to look more into this, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting though. For sure.
Dragon Age: The Veilguard, the brand newest
Oh, okay.
Dragon Age game, and I feel like talking about
Well,
this
I'm
game
glad
is
it's
a
mostly positive, but
minefield because people seem to have very strong opinions about this game, and I'm somebody who has never
yeah.
played a Dragon Age game, and I don't really care.
All
So,
right.
Tony, take it away. What do you
Well,
think of
I'll
Dragon
say
Age: The
now.
Veilguard?
I've obviously not played the game. I have
Yeah.
watched reviews. I'm gonna say now. I think the writing fucking sucks.
I saw a lot of
Um,
people saying the writing made it so you would have like 4 options to choose the exact same thing.
yeah. I don't
Which I
even.
was like,
Okay.
that's wild. That is not
Yeah.
great
I
interaction.
I think you need to play the game to like fully like break it down. But like, I'm gonna trust reviews and like, yeah, it does kind of sound like they've done like They've done a Dragon. You know what this reminds me of? This might be an unpopular opinion, but I really don't like Dragon Age 2 that much.
Right.
Um, it feels like Dragon Age 2 again, but worse. I would say with Dragon Age 2, at least the writing was like pretty decent. I would say.
I,
Not that I ever managed to complete it, but but this is like I'm not even so I'm not going to talk about like the actual choices not mattering. I
mhm.
just feel like the way the dialogue happens, like the way you resolve things, like the way that like inter character like stuff, it just feels like children talking. It kind of feels like really basic stuff, like kind of like Star Trek Picard kind of problems with like just
Star
really
Trek
bad writing
Picard
in
level
that way.
writing. That's
Maybe
one of
not as
the
like
most damning
not
things I've heard.
yeah, maybe not quite that bad, but like that's what it reminded me of.
I was just gonna say,
Or like
like,
just Star Trek Discovery sort of like into like character stuff. Like that's what it reminded me of.
the only Dragon Age I've ever played is I played like the intro to Dragon Age Origins, like
Yeah.
briefly when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I remember like Dragon Age Origins was very much like it was real time, but you could also pause and then you could look at the
Yeah.
environment and then,
So
do environment
that's still there.
attacks. But I
Yeah,
was
that's
like
still there.
more interested in this game's gameplay because it was much more like real time action RPG. What do people
Uh
think of the gameplay
mm,
stuff?
well, people say it's boring. I think
Right, okay.
I genuinely think like you don't have to play Dragon Age as a pause thing. Like I've always played Dragon Age like Mass Effect, where I
Right.
pause just like figure out what I don't pause and like think it is like a turn-based thing. I genuinely just pause it as like, oh shit, I need to get myself together. What skills do I have available? I might quickly switch another character, just get one skill off. You don't actually have to do that. You only I only have to don't choose mage if you don't want to pause too much if you're playing Dragon Age Origins. If you play
Right.
any other character, you don't really have to switch to another character. They just do their own thing.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've never played it as this pausing like tactical like XCOM sort of thing. To this, what I can say, like it's very similar as to Dragon Age 2, where it's like that was more quick in combat. It's like very Inquisition-y in that regard as well. But from what I've seen in reviews, that people said it's got very boring. It's like once you're like halfway through the game, that you've unlocked like there's not that many like synergies between your characters, like what your sort of moves you have. But like it's very much the same. Like it's very much like Inquisition, but worse. It's what I gathered from watching people play.
Mm.
The other thing
It,
I'll say as well is like the actual tone of everything is like I mean you've played the origins of Dragon Age Origins like you'd agree it's quite a dark game.
yeah, so literally it starts with like, the Grey Wardens, and you drink like
Yeah,
a potion that basically kills most people who take it, but you have to ingest this in order to fight the darkness or whatever the hell the Grey Wardens fight, right?
yeah. What one thing is to note is like what it turns out is like actually all of you've already been infected with darkspawn blood. You just haven't that you're just resistant to it.
Yeah.
And you have to go through this. You have to go through this ritual. If you survive it, you're then immune to being like turned.
Right,
But if you
okay.
don't go through it, you either die or if you refuse to go through it, you have to be killed. So that's like a very early scene in Dragon Age Origins. Like
Hmm.
Duncan kills. Well, one person dies and Duncan kills the other person, and you're the only one who's left.
Right.
But yeah, it's like this game is just like doesn't seem as dark, and it has like the fame. Like I don't know, it reminds me of like a Guild Wars 2 story where it's like you go and kill a god and everyone's just like happy go lucky, and it's like what the fuck is
Yippee!
this?
I feel 6 feet
hate.
tall. I felt like a centaur.
Yeah, I really hate Guild Wars 2 story elements. Like, it kind of annoys me the way it goes about. So it's not. If I'm comparing to Guild Wars 2 story, you fucked up.
Yeah, from everything I've played of the Guild Wars 2 story, I remember it being like very boring. Just not very interesting.
I don't know. I was apprehensive going into it, but I didn't expect to be. I don't know what people. I think it's great that people are having fun out of it. Like, fine, but I personally don't see what they are getting out of it. I'm curious to know what they are thinking, but yeah, it's not for me. I'm just going to avoid this. I don't even like
Tony,
the theme, the premise. I don't even care about. So, like, I don't even consider it as a part of the Dragon Age story.
now that Open Critics have player ratings on them, do you want to have a look at Dragon Age: The Veilguard on Open Critic?
Oh, okay.
Let's have a quick look. It has a 81% top critic average with a 30% player rating.
But the Steam reviews make it seem better. Like, what's going on there?
I don't know. So there's such a big disconnect between like the player base / vocal minority and then also like the critics with this game. It seems there seems to be some sort of misalignment. I think outside of like the let's just say like out of game stuff, that people
monetary, like business side.
No, I mean like people calling this game woke and woke people ruined this game. Outside of that stuff, from what I've seen, most people have said like it's just kind of boring. It's just not that interesting, is what I've seen.
Yeah.
But obviously, I haven't touched this game.
One thing. I got this from a couple of reviews. Apparently, this runs brilliantly on the Steam Deck.
Oh, actually, I have heard. So, Digital Foundry put out a video that said this game is insanely well optimized, and it's BioWare and Electronic Arts did a really good job at optimizing this, like a completely, what's the word? Objective technical review of the game.
Right. Yeah.
And people were like disliking the shit out of it. You're an awful person for technically reviewing this game and saying it technically runs well.
But they always do that, though. They don't. Oh, that's dumb. Don't do that. Don't dislike a video because they didn't cover the thing you care about.
Yeah, let's move on. Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster came out on the 31st of October with mixed reviews. Does it have anything to do with the fact that it's now completely unavailable in multiple countries based on a forced PSN login for for a single player game?
Yeah, you have to have a PSN account to play this offline game. Or this version of it. You still buy the original, right? No, I didn't actually check.
No.
Okay. Well, that sucks.
No, you cannot. They have delisted it, I believe. You can.
Why?
I own the original and I have access to the remaster, but you can no longer purchase Horizon Zero Dawn, the original edition.
I think as a £10 upgrade for people who own the original, I think that's really good. If the PSN account thing wasn't a problem, like I feel like fine, but I still would like both versions to be there, please.
It's interesting. If you like primarily play on Steam Deck, you probably don't want to upgrade because I've heard the performance gets a lot worse because of the technical improvements they've made. I heard there is generally good like quality of life stuff in the upgrade, but it's really going to depend.
And the water quality's better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I watched this Digital Foundry video on this. I remember the conclusion was like, I thought they thought it was stupid they were doing this. It's like it could like slow down Nixie's development on other stuff. It's like it doesn't seem to. They're doing other stuff at the same time, so maybe it's like a small project.
I just find it crazy that Horizon Zero Dawn. When did it come out? Like 2017 or something?
2018 wasn't? I don't know. Maybe it was 2017.
2017 it came out. I just felt like.
Okay.
to me, it's like 7 years. That seems kind of crazy for a remaster, but maybe it's just my perception of time is getting fucked.
But is that just maybe just a problem of the naming? Because to me, it's just like they've added some extra stuff that was in the sequel and some of the DLCs. Like they're just updating it to like match the quality to have the same graphical fidelity. More or less, it's still slightly worse, but it puts it further. It gets a bit closer to. I just see it as it's a slight upgrade. Like they could have sold it as a £10 DLC, the original, or like a £5 or something, and it's just like you have to buy both or something. I don't know. That people probably hate that as well, but I could see that in an old, like 10 years ago. That's what they would have done.
We've got a brand new Vampire Survivors DLC, Ode to Castlevania. This is a official Castlevania DLC for Vampire Survivors.
I'm surprised it hadn't happened earlier.
Yeah, I think it was because Konami has only recently started like actually giving a shit about video games again, where we've had like these these Dead Cells crossovers, or the Metal Gear Solid collections and stuff.
But Dead Cells came out.
Castlevania collections.
Dead Cells came out first, and just like surely Vampire Survivors would be up there once it got popular. I don't know. It just seems a bit odd.
I don't know. Like, so when did the Dead Cells Castlevania stuff come out? It came out in like 2013. Yeah, 2023. Sorry, 2023 is what I meant to say. So like, a lot of this stuff has been happening like fairly recently. Like, they did what's the battle right people called the vampire game that battle right people made? Stunlock Studios. V-Rise. They did V-Rising Castlevania stuff recently, 8th of May 2024. So a lot of this stuff where you're like, why haven't they already done this? I think it's because they're only just the past like year or so they've started to do like more crossover stuff. Like,
okay.
The Konami's trying to unfuck themselves, it seems like. To me, they're maintaining relevancy by just using their IP and letting other people use their IP, which is fair enough, I suppose. Better than nothing. I love Vampire Survivors. The ending in this DLC is well worth it. There's an ending in this DLC. There is more love, content, and hard work in this $4 DLC than $20+ DLC for games these days.
I thought they were going to go on and rant about like Konami games in the last 20 years, but sure.
True, Vampire Survivors Ode to Castlevania is a true work of love for a series that hasn't had much love in its own creator in ages. Evident in every aspect of this DLC, the artwork, music, new items and weapons, and even the secrets themselves, all pay tribute with reference to damn near every game in the series. I'm still discovering more, so I'm sure there's more to be seen as well. The other DLCs have been good. I own every other single Vampire Survivors DLC, and as soon as this came out, I put it in my basket, and I was like, oh, I'm trying not to buy games, and I've also just bought Metaphor ReFantasia. Am I planning on playing Vampire Survivors right now? And I'm like, I might load it up on my
Just wait for Christmas.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I have played the other DLCs that I've got for this. Like, they are really good. So, Vampire Survivors is a great game. Also, Konami. Castlevania Symphony of the Night is considered to be the greatest Castlevania game ever made, and it's nowhere available on any digital platform in a current state. You've just literally done a good job of remastering the DS collection. Put Symphony of the Night on Steam, please, so we can actually play it. Then next we have Death Note Killer Within. I saw this and I was like, is this Death Note Among Us? Like, what the fuck is this?
Wait, what?
Death Note Killer Within is an online social deduction game of up to 10 players. Players will be split into 2 teams with different objectives to win the game. Players will need to figure out each other's identities and either eliminate L, who threatens Kira's power, or seize the Death Note. Like, I look at this review. The only game where L, the world's greatest detective, could be a really stupid 8-year-old with the deductive skills of a brain-damaged walrus. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Imagine if Kira was a
Well,
10-year-old and just stood in the middle of the city asking, "Hey, what's your name, man?" before killing random people. That's the ultimate Kira play. He needs to know your name. So if you don't know the anime, he needs to know your name and write it in the death note in order to kill you. And his ultimate play is to walk up to people and go, "Hey, man, what's your name?" and then write it down as he kills you in front of him. That would be insane. Bro,
well,
if I had 9 other friends who were really into Death Note and Among Us, I'd be this sounds fucking amazing. I think this seems hilarious.
maybe the matchmaking's great though.
Yeah. Oh, as somebody who's done the matchmaking of Among Us VR, I don't want to play it with any more 10-year-olds, bro. I'm done. I can't go into public lobbies of this shit anymore.
What's the age range for this game? Maybe you need to find an adult.
Based on the reviews, it's 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds. Based on the 2 reviews I've read, so
doesn't bode well, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's another one of those games where it's like it's way more fun with friends, but good luck.
Oh yeah.
I mean, most people have seen Death Note these days, right? Death Note is like a popular shit.
Yeah.
They can just watch the version on Netflix. They can watch Netflix Death Note. Yeah.
That's a show.
But yeah, I was looking through releases and I saw this and I was like, what the fuck is this? I was so confused. Next up, we have a game I put on here for you, Tony. Planet Coaster 2. Are you interested in this game at all?
Do I own the first one? I don't know. I don't know. Man. I don't know. I find theme parks so interesting, but also like I don't know.
It's got mixed reviews.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what the problem was. I can't. It's not. Is it the way that they? Like the release cycle or something, or like the way
there are currently major flaws: lack of Steam Workshop integration, missing multiplayer mode, massive content reduction, restrictions in sandbox mode, missing edge scrolling, inadequate. It kind of seems like a City Skylines thing where it has technically more features in some respects, but because of the massive amount of like content and DLC and workshop stuff that they've kind of regressed at the same time. I don't know if like it's as buggy as City Skylines 2 was, but
yeah, or performance hitting. No, I think the performance was better than City Skylines 2, but I don't know. I feel like workshop should be something you try and add very quickly, if not on launch, personally.
Yeah, it seems like because this is a full release as well. They haven't. It's Steam Deck verified, which I don't think I would want to play. This Planet Coaster 2 on a Steam Deck.
I think it's planned. I don't know. I can't remember. I haven't. Like, yeah, it looked good in some respects, but yeah, I think this is very much a series trying to like certain features that were in the original that should always be in the second one just aren't there for some reason.
Somebody here is saying that Planet Coaster 2 runs poorly. It feels like Planet Coaster was designed only for the advanced gamer with advanced equipment, not the average casual player. Is this somebody who got bumped up by like the minimum specs or something?
Yeah, like I said, that like I get where they're coming from, but like that does happen unfortunately, and like I don't know. Like, I guess it would suck if I could play City Skylines 1 and like then I just physically couldn't play City Skylines 2, for example.
Oh, let's move on.
But at the same time, like kind of that just happens eventually, so
Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. I clicked on this store page before the podcast came out on the 6th of November, and I came away with more questions than answers. So this is a drum rhythm game. And it's like an actual, like, I think most people who are playing this, I think it originally came to arcades. And imagine the Donkey Konga bongos. Like, imagine that. So you hit the drum on the left and the right, and I think there's also sensors on the side where you can hit the drum on the side to make a note. I have no idea if you could play this with a controller or if it would be good with a controller compared to the drum experience, because I've seen somebody reviewing on a Steam Deck, so I'm assuming there has to, like, I was planning on maybe picking this up and then being like, oh, I'll try there's a demo for this, Tony Spotlight. Taiko no Tatsujin.
Yeah, maybe.
Playing it with a controller.
Is there touchscreen support? Can you like tap the screen?
Well, as I was thinking about Osu, and I was like, is there drawing pad support? Because that would kind of work as well.
Yeah.
Every time I get really into a rhythm game, I just think of the most like ridiculous peripheral to play them with. And it's like, I don't like racing games, and I don't really want a racing wheel to race, but if I had a racing wheel for Spin Rhythm XD, that would be really cool. But yeah. It's a drum rhythm game that has Persona 5 music in it. It has Tank, the theme from Cowboy Bebop. Like it has a lot of like, it has like a Studio Ghibli pack, a Dragon Ball pack. It has a Vocaloid pack. It's got Hatsune Miku music. Spy X Family's in here. And I look because I was like,
that's the way to go, right? DLC, so you have different licensing agreements.
Yeah, there's a lot of like licensed stuff, because a lot of people were saying in the comments, I don't understand why this is so expensive, because I can, play Osu, the versions of this game on Osu, or like the fan created experiences. I can, people make custom charts for them, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's because, they're using licensed music and they've got to give the artists a cut of their work, I suppose. Don't get me wrong, I play rhythm games and I much prefer when you have the ability to add custom content to them, and then people can illegally redistribute licensed work, so I don't have to spend hundreds of pounds on it. But sometimes it is nice to pay artists for their work.
Yeah, like it was like a few pounds for like, I don't know how many tracks there are, but
yeah,
I don't know. If you want everything, it's a lot of money, I suppose.
Yeah, well, Anime Pack Volume 2 has Tank in it, if I remember correctly. So here we go. That's the key one. I mean, I literally did spend like £3, because I was like, the Metaphor ReFantasio Deluxe Edition costs like £20 more, and there's like, I'm not spending £20 more on a soundtrack. Tony, they did the fucking Persona 3 soundtrack player shit again, where you don't actually get access to the soundtrack files. You get access to an Unreal Engine media player that you have to launch from Steam, and you can. I would buy the soundtrack if they actually gave you the files, but it's an Unreal Engine. It's the Nintendo Music app of soundtracks. It's fucking
That's awful.
It's fucking useless outside of its very specific one use case.
Yeah, that's a no. That's a no. Big no.
But what was I saying? But yeah, basically also Persona 5 it has Persona 5 music. You mean Persona 5 Last Surprise nominated for a Grammy thanks to a cover by a jazz orchestra, the 8-Bit Band. So the 8-Bit Band did a cover of a Persona 5 track. I think they did Last Surprise. Was the song they did, and it's been nominated for. Wouldn't it be insane if I can say Persona, Grammy nominated Persona music, but wouldn't it be great if I could say, look, Persona music is really good, Grammy winning Persona music? That would be really cool.
Well, I don't even wait to find out.
Yeah. But yeah, I started looking up rhythm drum. There's like rhythm drum kits that only work with like the Switch version. It's like this big red drum. There's like Hori, the guy who make like the Steam controller. They have like an entire section that's just Taiko no Tatsujin like drum pads. And like there's tons of like third party ones, and I just went down a rabbit hole, and I was like, of people like reviewing these drums, and I was like, where would you even start with this? This is a rabbit hole. Like this is a rabbit hole.
You want to buy a physical stuff to enhance your experience.
I don't know. We're gonna have to play the demo, and then I'm going down the rabbit hole of of Japanese games, and I'm going down the rabbit
Yeah,
hole of Asian dating FMV games.
yeah.
There's only so much time and money I can devote to these things, and I will go down the rabbit hole of drum
But
rhythm
is this
games.
worth it? Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. I do love rhythm games. I really do love rhythm games. So, also speaking of tanks, I did actually learn that somebody had made a workshop item that replaces the tank music in Left 4 Dead with Tank from Cowboy Bebop, which I thought was very funny. So I was like, yeah, I'll use this the next time I learn Left 4 Dead 2. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate came out. I literally saw a review where somebody was like, this game, it's kind of like Hades, but it's almost like this is some sort of mobile game. And I'm like, yeah, it's because it's literally a mobile game. They didn't even try to hide the fact that this is some sort of port of a mobile game. And I'm like, yeah, it was literally an Apple Arcade game. But yeah. I put the demo of this.
Problem, though?
No. They were like, just play Hades 1 or Hades 2. And I was like, yeah, but what if you already played Hades 1 and Hades 2? You want to play something else?
That's my biggest thing. Like, I keep seeing things when I'm looking at like platformers with like interesting art style. It's like, oh, it's not as good as Celeste. Just play Celeste. It's like
Celeste is really good.
So no other game is allowed in this, like even if it's slightly worse. Like if it's awful, like fine, like you can make that suggestion. It's like no, it's much worse. I don't even play it. Like fine, but like a lot of times I see it's like
I wouldn't mind the review if it was like, look, if you haven't played Hades, try out Hades because it's really good.
Yeah, sure. I see like some people are reading when they go like, if you played Hades before,
if you're a fan of Hades,
fine, but it's worse. If you haven't played Hades yet, I've suggest you play that instead. Like fine, that's fair enough. But actually, a lot of people go, no. Don't buy this. Just play this one game. It's like, but what if you like the genre and you've already played those games? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just a lot of people comparing it to Hades, which it borrows a lot from Hades in like the way it's structured and has a story that's delivered over time. But it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and it's a pretty simple game. I played the demo for it and I was like, yeah, it's fine. It could be a good Steam Deck game. And it's Steam Deck verified as well. So, which makes sense considering the fact it's literally on the Switch and the mobile. So,
do you think like a good waiting game? Like if you're waiting for something, put it down,
while waiting is probably my favorite waiting game from the Steam Next Fest.
That's a big waiting game. Yeah.
When that comes out, I'll definitely have to revisit that one. Tectonia just came. Go on.
So just imagine waiting for something and you're in the game waiting for this actually the same thing.
It's a Peter Molydeux tweet waiting to happen, my friend.
Yeah.
Tectonia just came out of early access. This is sort of like a satisfactory survival crafting game inside like I guess you're kind of inside like caverns, like mining area. I've seen a lot of people saying that they don't like the direction that they've gone since like maybe towards the end of early access / the 1.0 release. So I had high hopes for this game, story-driven factory builder underground, count me in. I started to worry when they released an update called Laser Tag Games and branded it as this is how we differ from other factory games. Then they said, don't worry, we're committed to making this game great. We have plenty of resources. It turned out that Laser Tag was the last update before release. The environment in this game is pretty, the rest feels too undercooked. The UI is cluttered, taking on a third of the screen while showing nothing useful. Factory building is bad, FPS is bad. Oh, here we go. Go play Satisfactory or Factorio Space Age.
I mean, they're saying it's bad, don't play it. I think that's just about fine.
I think I read a review, somebody saying like something constructive, like specifically the early game had been slowed down a lot in the later version of the game, and they felt like that wasn't a good thing.
No.
The most positive review is the review from Early Access. And they're saying, like, look...
Well, there's more hope there.
There's going to be more updates, but this is the 1.0 release. So they're saying, look, this... Like, Satisfactory literally just got its 1.0 release. This was an Early Access for a year, I believe.
The thing is, I think you need to put your best foot forward once you release from even more so than you just release out of nowhere. I do think you need to, yeah. That kind of sucks. Hopefully it gets better. It's not over. It's just worse if you release in a worse state than ideal, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Unrailed
Yeah,
2 Back on Track came out into early access to the sequel to Unrailed. I was a big fan of the first Unrailed. It has a really nice little charming soundtrack as well. Let's see what people think of the second game. Hello gamers! Guess we're back with another banger review fresh off the rails. Why do I feel like I'm reading a YouTube intro right now? Just for you. That's right, it's us, your favorite professional gaming duo, the Omegas. Bro, what the fuck is this? Starting off with a strong note, the music. What can we say? It's magnificent. It can remind you of your childhood, assuming you had a good one. Bold of you to assume. The orchestra really brought out the appropriate vibes necessary to tame the chaotic environment and make it feel true to its colors as cozy. Oh, this is amazing, but to me, taken away in 2 minutes of starting the game, leaving an ominous silent void in its wake. Half of the game is spent in complete silence, thus creating a hostile environment ripe for arguments and a slight possibility of sleeping on the couch. We can only score this game's audio with what it deserves. The music is 10 out of 10, but there's only half of the time, so we conclude that it's a 5 out of 10. Bro, this is the quirkiest Steam review I've ever read. The graphics are nice, but they lack visual clarity sometimes, making the game frustrating. Another issue we ran into is a constant picking up the wrong item. Not because we are bad.
Submitting this to a book report or something? What's going on?
I think it's 2 people, like a couple who's written reviews together. They've only written 9 reviews, which surprises me. 2K25. Hello, sports enthusiast gamers. It's time for another baller review. I want to follow a mega reviewer. They
recommend 2K25
after 1.6 hours, and they even put a giant ASCII of someone playing basketball in the review. I mean, and they have a pizza in the review. Bro, I'm half thinking this is like a person, and I'm half thinking this is AI generated. I'm actually not sure. That's the fucked up thing. Yeah, and they've reviewed a couple of games, Tony, that I can't see. What is going on?
Wait, what?
I have like heavy nudity content filters on.
If you send me this link, I will have it.
No, you'll tell me what they're called. Okay, we'll get the Tony proof check. I'm looking at the safe for Twitch edition right now.
Yeah,
safe for YouTube and Twitch. It's the one above. Rise.
Okay, no.
Race
okay,
they're
all saved.
What is this one?
Wait, which ones can't you see? Above Rise.
There's this game spoke
above
to me.
Rise, ultimate hard base defense.
Dive into an epic shooter Russian gameplay with some of the best soundtrack I've personally heard. Defender DJ with the help of 3 friends against waves of evil men. What does the game look like then?
I'm
getting like a content
is there
filter
women
for
in
nudity.
Oh, there is women in it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's why I can't see on Steam. Okay.
What's wrong with this? What? Wait, is one above that hidden for you as well?
Yeah. I don't know what that is either.
Breath Edge. Just an open world survival craft space.
Breath Edge is fine. I don't know why I can't see Breath Edge.
This thing.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway,
moving on.
Some people saying they're having multiplayer issues. The first game is challenging but still fun and realistically achievable. This game is just frustrating though, and thus plus the rewards are very RNG. I'm very disappointed, to be honest. But the lava area is not nearly as hype as the first game. That shit went hard. Love both games. Kisses to the developers. You deserve a special little kiss. Please add an option to have Unrailed 1 music because it went hard sometimes. I'm telling you, Tony, Unrailed 1 soundtrack was sick.
I don't think I've ever heard it.
Look up I think it's called like Jolty Jostling or something.
Okay.
Jolly Jolting. I think this is the song. I think I can even play it. It's just relaxing, like train track building music.
Do you think it's good to Do you think it's good to listen to you're building Lego trains? I got a Lego train station
Probably,
to
yeah.
build.
I didn't tell you this, but my brother built like a shelf that goes all the way around the top of his office now, and it has a little electronic train that drives around on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was like, how that? I would assume this would immediately have broken, but you've somehow done something with DIY. Like he actually got.
You don't trust his DIY.
No, like he got a piece of wood and he got it cut and he actually measured it correctly and it's like level and stuff and it works. And I was like,
yeah,
it's just very surprising to me.
It's obviously not from IKEA.
No, it was not from IKEA.
I have so many issues with level stuff from IKEA. Like none of mine. I haven't bought anything from IKEA for myself. It's just other people's stuff I have to help set up. It's like this isn't flat. This is straight. This is wonky.
Let's go next. Metro Awakening VR, the brand new Metro VR game, has come to VR. Let's have a look at what people think. This game has a lot of stuff, brings a lot of stuff from the books to life that were lost in adaptation. Making a VR game also adds to the horror aspect. Only thing I could hope for next is something with open levels like Exodus. So far, I'm quite happy with the game. The essence of the Metro universe can be felt, and it's an incredibly tense experience. I enjoy a slow-paced approach to most games, and this fits well within the game. It's far spookier than I could have ever anticipated, which is both good and bad depending on your tastes. Apparently does not support left-handed players. That is something to note. I saw mixed reviews, but I'm not seeing many negative ones. You need an internet connection just to play this single-player game? Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was like the Two Colonels DLC, but an entire game. It had only 2 sections with friendly NPCs on screen in a station. It had no MGR, and no surface section. Honestly, I would give it. I think I remember liking the Two Colonels DLC from Metro Exodus.
Is that I'm not liked in general?
I don't know. I quite liked it. It was like a short little story-based DLC from Metro Exodus, and I liked more linear stuff. So, and I think this seems to be saying like that it's quite linear.
I guess maybe different expectations, different. Sure.
If you're a VR veteran and you expect extraordinary Metro experience, save your money. It doesn't have anything to play. It's your first VR game, then go ahead and enjoy it. It just seems like it's a simple VR game. I don't know. People seem to have mixed opinions on it. Maybe it's people wanted maybe people wanted what's that VR survival game called? Into the Radius, is it called? Maybe people wanted Into the Radius. That's what they were like hoping for, and it's more like an on rails like short linear thing. And then finally, as we move on from releases after the 2-hour podcast, Slitterhead is the final one I want to check out. So this is Bokeh Game Studio, and this is interesting because this is made by the original lead developer of Silent Hill, I believe, is we worked on before.
But the real one. It's not one of those.
Slitterhead dev. I don't know. It's founded by Keiichiro Toyama, following his departure from Sony Interactive Entertainment, and I think this is their first game. So Keiichiro Toyama is best known as the creator of the Silent Hill, Siren, and Gravity Rush franchises. So yeah, it's from the original creator of Silent Hill.
The real OG.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice thing.
Yeah. Or like, we should say like, people who make games are made up of big studios, and we'd like to attribute lots of people's contributions to one person. Not
the
to do
leader
that.
of the group.
But yeah. A flawed game. So what I've heard about this is it's flawed and janky, but there's like interesting ideas in it. Is what I've heard.
That make up for the jank.
A flawed game full of interesting ideas that harkens back to the late 6th/early 7th gen. While it's small in scale, it squeezes as much as it can out of those limited resources the team had. It feels like something that jumped through time, both literally and figuratively, and that is a compliment. Absolutely worth checking out. We don't get many games like this. You are a parasite in the walled city colon made by... Parasite in the walled city colon made by some of the OG devs of Silent Hill 1 and Siren series. Not many games are featured in this location of the era, which was notorious for being an ungoverned, lawless city. So it's very interesting. Game has a parry deflect system, but it's not as simple as tapping one button. You have to deflect in the corresponding direction, so timing isn't the only thing you have to focus on. Has unlockable, so exploration for new character cosmetics that give passive skills is here. There's a skill upgrade system. You know what it reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of like Driver San Francisco, where you just like keep hopping bodies and to different people and then like fighting people. I don't know. It looks really fucking weird, but it also... in an interesting way. I think this is going to be a game you have to play. I don't think you can like learn about it from like reviews. It seems kind of divisive, yeah.
I think you can deal with the jank or not if it is.
Move on to quick news. Of course, somebody has already hacked the Alarmo clock to be running Doom. Somebody's already got Doom running on the Alarmo.
Is it an Android thing? Or is it a...
I don't know, actually, what it's running. Let's see if there's information about it here. So apparently... What's that tapping sound? I thought I muted this. Just 3 days later, Wii U reverse engineer Gary Odernick has risen to challenge and set Alarmo rocketing into weird things that can run Doom charts by running Doom on the Alarmo. There's currently no audio support, and to avoid USB loader memory size restrictions, the WAD needs to be compressed and then uncompressed to external memory on boot. However, it's possible to load the shareware version of Doom entirely from USB without modifying the Alarmo. So I think it's technically running through a USB through the Alarmo's display, and then using the controls of the Alarmo to control the WAD?
That's what I found impressive. They added... How did they do that?
I don't know. He kindly shared his working. You can check out his blog. So here's a GitHub on Doom for the Nintendo Alarmo. Let's have a look. It's a 2.8 LCD inch screen, notification button on the top, dial on the top. It has RGB LED. It has 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi. It comes with a 24 gigahertz wave presence sensor to react to your movements. I'm wondering, can you play motion control games with the wave presence sensor?
Does it have the precision to like know, or I mean, precision is not the right word, but it has the precision to like know like, what sort of movement you're doing, or does it just know that you're there? Like, is it just an infrared sensor, or is it an actual motion sensor?
So apparently he like soldered a connection to his like Pi, so I'm guessing connected up to a Raspberry Pi, and then use that to edit the firmware that runs on the Alarmo.
That makes sense.
Dumping indeed reveals a lot of ARM instructions. I would have to Control F.
Well, it sounds like he downloaded what was like on like Flash things. It's not encrypted.
Well, we know like the Switch is an ARM device that runs. Is the Switch running Android? Technically, I don't think it is. Right? It's its own custom hardware.
I don't think it is.
The Nvidia Shield definitely, which is the Tegra the
Yeah.
Tegra chip is definitely
So
a
it
tablet
sounds
that
to
runs
me,
Android.
it sounds to me the fact that he's like dumping like Flash and stuff, like he just like some sort of embedded software. He's just like programming it directly. It sounds like to me, but I'd actually have to read it fully to see if that's actually correct or not.
What software the Nintendo alarm clock is running? Like sometimes, bro, I don't even know. Somebody immediately commented, "Can it run Crisis?" Crisis is going to be a lot harder than Doom. That's for sure.
What if you just plugged in a memory card?
Like, can the Nintendo Alarmo run Quake? Would be easier than getting to run Crisis, I think. So, yeah, we'll see. Now let's move on to gaming handheld news, where Apex Legends will no longer support Linux and Linux-based Steam Decks anymore based on cheating. They have said that lots of people were using Linux in order to cheat in the game, and it was ruining the multiplayer experience for non-Linux users, and there was enough
I have a
of
question.
the player base that was being ruined and not enough player base of people running it on Linux and Steam Deck that they've decided to stop supporting Linux.
That's all fair enough, but how did they know they were cheating? Like, I assume it's a report thing, right?
Well, I think
And I
the
assume they
problem
reviewed
is
the footage.
I think the problem is that their anti-cheat system doesn't work with the Linux.
Yeah, my thing is that they've been so dependent on kernel level stuff that they can't have any other system to detect it.
Yeah,
Which fair enough, like fine, like in terms of like there's a small player base on the Linux at the moment, but I don't know. To me, that kind of feels defeatist, but understandable if you consider resources and developer costs. But I don't know.
You're saying like
I think this is a fair decision, but I just wish there was a better way. Is what my thoughts on this.
Like a lot of people are saying like BattlEye is not compatible with like Linux, for example. And that's a very popular anti-cheat stuff. We'll go more into anti-cheat stuff when we talk about Steam news, because Steam's been updating its anti-cheat stuff. But Respawn basically said like, "Oh, go on."
No, I know of like other projects that are trying to like actually like consider non-kernel level stuff, but have the same sort of power, but in a different way. But it's like more, but it takes more time to integrate into the actual like server software.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately,
that Fez is coming.
There's a cost to development, and it would cost so much money to have developers develop anti-cheat specifically for Linux, or like I think EA is using a proprietary anti-cheat which doesn't support Linux, and there's no like outcry from game developers to say, look, we need an anti-cheat that specifically supports people playing on Linux.
No, but what I have seen is an outcry of developers saying that we should not be running kernel level stuff. Even to the point that Windows, thanks to the CloudStrike vulnerability that happened this year, that it's suspected that Windows will eventually not allow access in the same way.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised in the next few years that they will be forced to change. But I agree with you. Is like why should Respawn have to do that? Like in a way, they kind of took off the shelf stuff to make it work. And a lot of developers do that. It's like, so wait for a bigger developer to do that.
But they were saying like, because they obviously supported Linux and Steam Deck for a long time, where they had
which is fair, which is good,
a Steam Deck system. But they were saying like Windows cheats were also exploiting this vulnerability, where they were basically like emulating Linux tools to like avoid being detected by the anti-cheat system.
Yeah, and Windows has like Linux stuff like built in to like to be able to run it. So,
and like people are saying like technically a workaround is if you install Windows on your Steam Deck, you could still run Apex Legends, but the Windows on Steam Deck is not a great solution to that problem.
I think I think the solution that I've been asking for like is actually coming, and I think it's gonna have to come, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm not a developer. Like you'd have to like there's a lot of other stuff like happening, and there's definitely like a conflict between those like, oh, kernel level is fine, and this is like developer side, not like what users are saying, and then like saying no, it's not fine.
Yeah.
And then also like changes are coming from the big people because of like exploit, like becoming so reliant on computers, and kernel level stuff is starting to become a problem. And
Yeah.
it was kind of, and the only reason why kernel level stuff been exposed was because of like legal, like legal stuff in the EU. It's like, so in an alternative universe, there wouldn't have been this level of kernel access to begin with. So I think that there should be, but and again, there are developers now, like competitors to like the normal anti cheats we know of, that are trying not to do it in a kernel level way and more.
I mean,
In a more secure way, let's say.
The big reason that developers are using these invasive kernel level anti-cheats because they work. Like,
yeah, they definitely work. Yeah, there's no argument with that.
It's because like it's a $1 billion business, multiplayer gaming with microtransactions and stuff, and also, I don't know if you know, like one of the most invasive ones is Riot Vanguard, which is like constantly running on your PC. Like you're not allowed to launch the game without turning Riot Vanguard on. But it's like there was an investigation I saw into Escape from Tarkov cheaters, and they were saying like never install like Riot Vanguard on your computer because it will actually affect you being able to cheat in other games, sort of thing, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah. But I see it as a two-edged sword. Like, yeah, it's good that it's like catching that like unintentionally, but on the other side is like, why is it? What it has free reign to do this.
What was I going to say? Oh, a temporary solution to this would be Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero came out recently, which I think accidentally did this, but it had lobbies that matched Steam Deck users with only other Steam Deck users.
Yeah.
So you could
even generically like Linux to Linux, like actual,
if you were basically like, look,
100%,
we're only going to make it so only Linux players can play against Linux players, and then you would essentially like either people would give up on cheating on Linux, or you would just have basically like the shadow ban lobby, like the Call of Duty lobbies where they would put all the cheaters into one lobby. That is hilarious.
I think that would be a much better solution than just like nothing at all. But again, that still takes effort to implement, and it's like, and there might be so little people playing that it's still not worth it for them.
But apparently, like, I don't know if Dragon Ball Sparkling Zero did this on purpose, because apparently I think it was matching users based on their FPS. So you're only getting matched against Steam Deck users who also had this. So if you turned your settings up and you had like lower FPS, you would then get matched against people with lower FPS, which I think is like,
I guess
kind of funny.
I guess it's more fair, I suppose, if you can't run the game.
Yeah, I also think that hardware. Only being matched against people with the same FPS as you is kind of interesting.
But maybe that should be like the primary metric. Maybe it should be like taken into account as like a bigger metric. But that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Let's move on to.
One thing I just want to. We're going to move on, but I just like just because kernel level stuff is definitely does.
We're going to be talking about anti-cheat.
I just wanted to say. Sure. I just want to say this. Like, just it is a solution that works. Doesn't mean there aren't other solutions that also work that aren't invasive. It just hasn't been made yet, and it's harder.
So Hori's spiritual success to the Steam controller is up for pre-order today on Amazon. So the Hori gamepad is coming to US as well. Previously, it was only available in the Japan market, and it is now available in the American market as well. But Tony, what did you want to say about anti-cheat in games? Because what were you going to say about the Hori gamepad?
No, I just wanted. I can't remember what was going on with that. Was there demand for it to come though, or did they just decide to see if there was? Like, were people asking for it?
Well, people wanted a new Steam controller, I think, and they were upset it was only coming to the Japanese market because it has specific features. Like, I don't know if do you know about like capacitive touch sticks with gyro? So you know, like,
I don't know why it's important, but I do know like it functions like it's physical.
Yeah. So if anyone doesn't know, like the way capacitive touch sticks on the Steam Deck works is you can set up gyro support, but you can have it work so the gyro only works or goes off when you have your finger on top of the the joystick,
Yeah.
so it's got capacitive touch. It knows when you're touching it, and no other controller had this feature or was able to support this feature through Steam, basically. But this is really important to gyro players and people who like specifically play like FPS games and stuff like that on a controller. And this specifically has it supported in Steam, which is really nice. Another thing with like third-party controllers is this has back buttons. Usually what happens is those back buttons get emulated as basically the face buttons, but again, so specifically with this controller, those are their own unique buttons in Steam input, which is interesting to see.
Very useful.
Most of the features, I think people aren't like massively in love with this controller for the most part in terms of like, other than having capacitive touch sticks and having those individual key buttons, it's like the only thing that exists, but it's mostly fine for the rest. There's nothing like, oh, it's a must-have controller.
No, it looks alright. It looks like it could compete to some people in the market, so fair enough.
I think it also, if I remember correctly, only has Bluetooth. There was another thing I was like, I feel like this could have had 2.
Or not LE. What's the low latency version?
Low energy one. I think it is called LE, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, is it LE that has low latency as well? Okay. I couldn't remember.
I don't know, but it is weird, like this Japan controller, but then you have like a Bluetooth dongle with like the Valve logo or like the Steam logo on it, and it's just like, I don't know, because the Steam controller has a 2.4 gigahertz dongle.
Yeah, it does.
I think you can plug it in, but if I remember correctly, it only has Bluetooth connection outside of plugging it in. So yeah, Steam has a brand new tool for describing anti-cheating games. A new dedicated field helps developers describe anti-cheat provided used in a game. So if a game on Steam has kernel level anti-cheat, it must be displayed on the Steam store page now.
Yep.
This is a new mandatory field, which is cool to see.
I don't see it being a bad thing in any way. Like, I was just trying to think, someone might plug it. I can't. Like, just disclosing it. Like, is it a problem?
Yeah, and again, like there is anti-cheat that's not kernel level. There is stuff like VAC, Steam, like Valve's VACnet, but that's people are very unhappy about how that's working up until recently because there's been a lot of cheaters and stuff like Counter-Strike 2, but they are doing like the Overwatch system now, which is seeing a lot more results in catching cheaters. So it like VACnet is getting a lot better. But they say here as well. Sorry, I was just going to say if you have server-side only anti-cheat in your game, you do not have to disclose that. It's only if it's
I will say like a lot of games have their own stuff server-side. It's just that it's then paired with other stuff as well.
Yeah.
But normally happens is that the kernel level stuff is like software that gets updated with the client, whereas like it's then a lot harder to figure out what's going on without like doing like a investigation, like if you try and implement it server side, or like trying to figure out what the hell your users are actually doing, which is much more difficult than if you've already got something that's kind of reporting that from the client. So yeah, I think I agree with like you don't like if the server's doing it, like obviously it's going to be doing it to some extent. I don't think it's just like is it running on your computer?
They've also said here your uninstall script should already be cleaning up any files created or modified by the install process. However, we know that some older games may not fully remove files upon uninstallation, and it's impossible to update the game any longer. Players need to know if any anti-cheat utilities have been left files behind, especially those that modify OS kernel files.
Or registry stuff is that's a big problem for like normal drivers, let alone anti-cheat stuff. So this is gonna be like is the community gonna like if there's a problem with like the description, is the community gonna like report it as like a problem? Is that a feature?
Sorry, what?
Like I guess this is like because initially this is gonna be like I guess developer side that like implements the data right like, on the page. Like they fill it out.
Yeah, so there's like optional anti, so it's saying like includes anti-cheat
Yeah.
software Punkbuster, and there's one here where they've shown an example of a game that has kernel level anti-cheat, where it's like, look, this uses kernel level anti-cheat, easy anti-cheat, and this will require a manual removal when you uninstall the game, just to let players know.
But I was saying if it's like incorrectly like on the store page and the users like disagree with what's listed there, is there a way to report that as like an issue on the page or some other features, community driven updating system?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming that's something Valve
I assume
would
there's a
do
report type or
themselves,
something.
right?
Yeah, I would assume so. I assume that this
It's
is like if a lot of people report like featured misrepresentative or something.
I think that's
They'll look
something
into
that
it.
Valve themselves would have to do. I don't know if you
Yeah,
community outsource that.
Well, I don't think community could like update it, but I'm just saying, is there an easy way to like communicate this without having to go through other systems? Like, is there an easy like, does the
No,
report games now have an easy
I
like
think
anti-cheat not
I
listed
think
correctly?
we've seen time and time again if people disagree with systems that happen outside of games, they will use the review section to voice that. That's what we've seen. Review bombings have been the way people have been going. But yeah, it's a touchy subject because there's not always another place to voice these concerns.
No, that's what I mean. I just feel like there should always be like another place for it. Like, if reviews aren't the place for it, then there should be
Discussion
another
forums on Steam.
forum. Yeah.
I mean, there is a discussion forum in every single app page on Steam. I'm one of the few people who reads discussion forums, so
maybe it just needs to be exposed in a different way. That's because I don't get along with like the way the forums are set up. Maybe just
I mean, there's literally a reason
but
they added reviews to demos as an option because so little people read the discussion forums for them.
Yeah.
So the next up we have a new Steam API for switching game versions and beta branches. Many games on Steam already have multiple build branches, allowing players different builds of the game, either historical versions or forward-facing test builds with the latest pending updates. Previously, accessing these alternate build branches was fairly obscure, done by players through the Steam settings panel. However, new SteamWorks API now allows developers offers players this choice from within the game itself. What follows is some details on the new features in Steam and SteamWorks, as well as a couple of common use cases. So, when you launch a game on Steam, it will say, look, this is the version of the game that you have selected, and it will even allow you to change that version from the store page.
Yeah,
you can even have players opt in and out of your game beta inside the game, which is really cool. So when players install and start playing game, they'll be automatically assigned to the default branch, which is generally expected to be the stable version. Many games that update frequently will also run a preview beta branch with new updates, but it's not always obvious to the player that a game has a beta branch available or how to get into that branch. You can use the new iSteam app APIs to make it easier for players to join or exit your beta branch. You would add a button and text your game's menu that shows your player which version of the game they're running and invite them to opt into the beta test branch. When the user clicks the button, the game client would call set active beta and tell Steam to restart the game into that specific branch of the game. Once players are in the beta branch, they will see new UI next to the play button in Steam that shows the current beta version they have it set to. So you'll be able to basically... It's getting towards like the GOG versioning we have, where you can be like, okay, I want to play on this version of the game. I mean, we've had versions of that obfuscated like by it as like beta branches in the settings that were kind of complex, and we've never been able to do it inside the game. And obviously, the player doesn't have options to downgrade their game on their own whims. This is still completely manually builds are set by the developer, so they decide what builds of the game the player has access to, which is
one step closer to having the feature there.
For games that update frequently and significantly, as is common during Steam Early Access, troubles can arise when players with dozens or hundreds of playtime can't find their save file. If you know the existing save file will no longer work with the newest version of the game, you can use the new Steam API to ask the user if they would like to remain on the older version of the game. In this case, you would add some logic to the game to check if there's an existing save file and for which version of the game that save file is for. If the game the user is running is newer than the version, you could prompt the user. So you could basically have save files on different versions of the game that won't be able to be carried over to the other version of the game, which I think is a really nice feature as well, and also allow people to play on older builds that don't break their saves. I'm just thinking, man, these are some really cool features that almost no dev will actually use, probably, because they just don't give a fuck about the players usually.
It's not a priority normally, especially if you're. I just find, it seems to be like the bigger AAA games that don't use it as much as the smaller ones, in my experience.
Then also, Steam Game Recording is now officially out. It was in beta for a while, but it's now officially out.
I actually saw that announced on the Steam client as well.
Yeah. So since June, we've added several new features: game-specific settings, quick capture hotkey options, advanced export options, session view, a new way to view footage in the new recording and screenshots manager with game-specific tags and data. Also, Steam Remote Play randomly got AV1 support. But not game recording doesn't have AV1 support, which I was like, okay. One of these features exists, but not the other.
Maybe one's harder to implement.
I don't know. I still don't know the difference between like what features are in Steam Remote Play when you're streaming a game to yourself and what's in Steam Remote Play together. Are they the exact same system, or do they have like separate branches? I would have to test this out. Like, they could definitely do an overhaul on Steam Remote Play / Steam Remote Play together. It's become kind of confusing at this point. But yeah, specifically, I don't want to use Steam Game Recording because my computer only has SSDs, and if I was to set it up to always be recording, that would actually lead to SSD degradation, because the way SSDs are set up are that you would store a bunch of data on them and then read from them, but you would almost never write. They're not really rated for people who are constantly writing to them. Whereas
it depends on the drive, but more generally that is that compared to the hard drives, that's definitely the case.
So I'll be worried about that. I also record stuff I don't play on Steam, and also OBS has pause features and supports games, has AV1 support, and also is just a lot more flexible tool. I'm not somebody who really goes, oh my god, chat, clip that chat, and then I just push a button and I get it back.
Yeah.
Cancel me if you want, but OBS is just my preferred recording device, you know?
I can understand why people would want that. Like, I feel like, I just want to this crazy thing just happened. Let me just like save what's there. Like, I can understand that. It's not something I personally actually want to use. So.
Yeah, but I will actually use this, but specifically on my Steam Deck. That's where I'm going to be using this. I'm going to have it set up so like, because I've literally tried to use OBS on my Steam Deck, it didn't work. Decky recorded worked half the time and then would just crash the other half of the time. Like, legitimately having a tool to record stuff on my Steam Deck is a game changer for Steam Decks. My personal gaming rig is not really something I'm ever going to use. But next time I'm Steam Deck gaming, I will have some gameplay footage for you, and I will test this out.
Yeah. I may even accidentally use it. Who knows?
Ooh, we're going to get some Dead Cells gameplay.
I don't know, maybe. I don't know.
Then let's move on to business news. Death Stranding IP now belongs to Kojima Productions. They've bought it back. I believe it was... made in part with Sony, like they helped fund the creation of it.
Yeah, was it a part ownership of the IP before, or was it owned by Sony? Then how, I don't know.
I
How,
don't know their specific deal, but we know Kojima now owns the Death Stranding IP, and then this coincides with Death Stranding suddenly being released on Xbox, because it was a Sony sponsored title before, but it seems like because it was released on everything else, it was on PC, it was on. I don't know. Have you ever seen the iPhone version of Death Stranding? It's actually like the decimal engine scales are really good.
Yeah. And I was just wondering, maybe it was always a timed IP like ownership or like deal or something for Sony's part. Maybe that was always the case. I don't know.
Well, because Death Stranding 2 is being published by 505 Games. We don't know if they have some sort of like PlayStation exclusivity for this game. I'm assuming that this game will be a Sony exclusive. I don't think Death Stranding 2 will be coming to Xbox immediately. That's my thoughts.
No, I would assume as well, but I guess Sony would have to pay money for that exclusivity, so
yeah.
I guess they'd be willing to pay for it, right?
And Palwell devs have revealed the patents at the heart of the Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's lawsuit and how much money they're being sued for. Tony, have you heard how much money they're being sued for?
No, I've not seen the actual information. I'm really curious to know what the actual patent
this is going to shock you, and it shocked me, and I couldn't believe this, but not for the reason you're thinking for. According to Pocket Pair, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company want 5 million yen, which is approximately $32,000.
Wait, what?
To which I said, just one developer. 32,000 developer?
That's like one developer for like half a year, or like not even like no, developers get paid more than that. I'm sorry, but like that's the sort of money we're talking about.
So I was like, huh? Like, I don't know if you remember, like, how much was Yuzu sued for? How much was... It was millions.
They claimed a lot of damages.
$2.4 million. Palworld makes a game, they're like, 32 grand. Bro.
Okay. What's the actual patent dispute? Is it some bullshit? Like I feel like it's bullshit.
So it's $32,000 each.
Yep.
So $64,000 to the Pokemon Company and Nintendo, plus late damage payments, whatever that means. Late payment damages, as well as but I think this is the kicker. They want an injunction against Palworld that would block its release. Specifically. Because they're releasing on I think they're releasing on like PlayStation soon, which is what they're trying to block.
I can't see a judge agreeing to that.
This is in Japan, though. This is a Japanese judge.
But I still don't see it happening.
The patents they filed after Palworld came out are... So, Tony, these are patents they filed after the game already exists.
Well, they had to find out that they owned these patents, I assume.
Yeah. Mounting a character designed for specific zones, air, water, or ground.
What?
So having a mount that only goes on water, or having a mount that goes on the ground or air.
Fuck off. Absolutely fuck off.
Throwing a capture device to own another character. So the idea of capturing Pokemon, basically.
The Pokeball mechanic, but that's not... Yep. You have the trademark on the look, not the... What?
And then the final one is throwing a character that participates in a fight. Those are the patents that Palworld filed and are saying, look...
Are you kidding me?
Here are the patents that we filed after the game came out, and this thing has completely violated them.
In their defense, like I assume they had. Like, this isn't a very good defense for them, but like I'm just assuming, like, taking into account like how legal stuff works. Like I assume they had to like find. They had to have their lawyers like go through everything and go like, what are because I assume they wanted them to infringe on something. They go, what are they actually infringing on? What can we sue them for? And then took them this long to find the stuff they wanted, and then went back and forth and went, yeah, we agree. Let's go for let's send an injunction out, or an attempt at an injunction. Yeah, I assume there's the same like I don't know much about Japanese law stuff, but I assume there's still the thing of like previous like art like superseding like patents and like patent disputes and things.
I can't. We
So
talked about ages ago about it was Lost
what
Judgment,
the
the Sega game where I can't remember what it was. It was like the rights of they like owned his likeness or something. I can't remember what the
like
specifics were, but it was like I was like I can't believe this is how Japanese laws work. It was I'm
yeah
gonna misrepresent it because I cannot remember. It was like years ago we were talking about this. Um,
yeah
that was like, what the hell is going on here?
yeah. I know that there's definitely a difference, like not just culturally, but like some substantial differences that you just like would not expect.
So look, Lost Judgment will be the last game in the series following an actor's image rights dispute. That claim that Kimuruma's agency, Johnny Associate, have been blocking the Judgment series from coming to PC as they do not want Kimura appearing in PC games. Do you remember this? So they have like
yeah
his agency has strict control over his likeness, and they were like, we don't want his likeness used in a PC game. So they were blocking it. They were trying to block it from coming to PC. That's when I'm like, that's kind of fucking insane, you know.
I guess you do have full control of your likeness though, and if you then granted like an agency to deal with that, that's I don't know. That's all. I think that is silly, but I don't think it's a case of like the Japanese system being too ridiculous. I would say. I think it's just a ridiculous case in
Tony,
Japan.
it was specifically the actor himself, I
Yeah.
believe, was like Kimura himself was like, yeah, let's do this, but his agency
Yep.
owned his
Yeah.
likeness,
Yeah.
and they were like, nah, we don't want that.
That's unfortunate. Even in like the West, that's kind of that. Maybe it's not anymore, but like I'm pretty sure that was kind of common. Where like you, it's not like you know, like how like record labels in music, like basically own like yourself, and they should really.
Oh
They
yeah,
should just be
like the
like
master record
they should.
license.
Yeah, whereas to me, it's like no, the producers should, and they should be like managers that you like business managers that you hire. They shouldn't be like this like all controlling entity, which obviously then we're now moving away from in like newer artists. So it kind of just feels like that, but more stupid.
But yeah, it seems Pocket Pair signed a deal with Sony to form a new business called Palworld Entertainment that's going to expand the IP of Palworld. I guess this is where the injunction is coming in to be like, look,
Yeah,
stop.
but even if the patents are like are granted, I can't see the injunction being more than like a temporary block.
Well, this just
I
goes to
don't, I
show
don't, I
you,
don't know
like,
much about it, but
it just goes to show you how serious, like, Nintendo takes
yeah.
the threat of Palworld taking over the
Oh
Pokemon
yeah. And it's
business.
stupid. They shouldn't see it. Well, I guess they should see it as a threat, but that's only because of their own stupid decisions. Like to me, it's legitimate competition.
Yeah.
And it's like no one's gonna I don't know. It's a patent dispute. It's not an IP dispute or a trademark dispute. So that's just ridiculous, though. Those are way too like anyone could do that. It's like, oh yes, I have a dolphin mount that only goes in the water. No, I'm afraid that's a Nintendo patent.
Yeah.
I guess then is it like does it then make it like more novel because it's like specific like the elements like the traditional like elements of nature? I don't know.
Oh, I'll talk
I
about this
don't think it
quickly.
should.
Nintendo did a lawsuit recently against somebody who was emulating Switch games and streaming them, and I 100% am behind Nintendo on this one. I don't know if you saw, there was a guy who was basically streaming Switch games before they came out and was laughing and saying there's nothing you can do to get me. He was like taunting them while like flauntingly playing like leaked pirated games, and I was like,
yeah,
this guy's a
that's
fucking
fair.
idiot. I'm actually behind Nintendo on this one.
No, that's fair.
When it comes to Power World,
That's
I don't think Nintendo should be able to win this. I think there's some crazy stat that Nintendo's never lost a lawsuit, so they don't file lawsuits if they don't think they can win.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I think it took them so long, is that they're making sure they could win.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of concerns me. But even with that, they still... Okay, here's a question. They might not have lost any, but have they always gotten everything they wanted? So that's a different question.
I think they usually settle, is what it comes down to.
And it's normally an in-between settlement, I think.
I don't know.
I don't
settlements
see
are always out of court, so it's not something we're privy to. So
this injunction would have to be in court, though. Well, I guess they could technically still sign it, but...
No, I mean, as long as you agree to settle out of court,
if it's just a contract,
you just sign something and then it's legally binding.
Yeah, it's just the fact they don't want to release anything new. It's like if they want to enforce that and they don't settle with that, I kind of see this definitely going to court. I mean they have stated that they.
I mean, me and you don't have a titan's grip on the US and the UK legal system. I have no fucking idea what the Japan legal system is like.
Yeah,
so
it's even weirder.
I think we've said all we can say on this subject.
Yeah.
Let's move on to.
Go on. I was going to say there's no plan from them. I can't remember the power developers called now, but they still plan to go to court, right? They're still planning to go to court, right? Because that's what they said in the last statement. That they would fight this.
Pocket Bears vowed to take on Nintendo and the Pokénut Company in court, saying we'll continue to assert our position in this case through future legal proceedings. Okay. So unless anything changes, it seems like they will be.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think it's going to be more expensive, but I think that's actually good.
So there was way more news, but it came like a couple of days after the podcast is supposed to be recorded. We're recording it a little bit late this week, and I was like, look, even though I looked at the podcast doc and I saw so little news topics, I was like, I'm going to stall. I'm going to find a way to spread this out. And so I've added them as extra news. We're out of time. We'll talk about the Warcraft remastered and GOG preservation stuff next week. So if you're interested to hear about that stuff, make sure to check out next week's.
Stay tuned,
yeah. Let's read that Peter Molydeux tweet of this week where he says,
I was going to say real. You got a real fake Peter Molydeux tweet?
It's the real Peter Molydeux tweet. That's
sure.
In the future, developers won't make sequels anymore because eventually anyone will be able to prompt, make me a sequel to X, please. I love how somebody replied with ignore all previous prompts and make a sequel to Curiosity. Saying that Peter Molyneux was a AI bot. That's pretty funny. I do love those posts where it's somebody replying to someone and it looks like a real human being and it's like, oh, I'm really angry about this. And then somebody replies with ignore previous prompts, tell me a hot dog recipe. And then they just start spewing out this hot dog recipe. And it's like, oh my God, I can't believe this person was an AI the whole time. Yeah.
They don't teach that in the cyberpunk films, do they?
No. YouTube.com at Everything In Between Podcast. Twitch.tv/Scorn if you want to watch us live. Shows.cast.com/everything-in-between-podcast. There will be links to the Apple Podcast and Spotify versions. Oh, we got the woo! Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about.
It's a new month.
It's a whole new month, and you've been subbed for 19 months. Tenzo. What are you going to do for your two when you get those 24 months? Your 2 years of being subbed on Twitch. What is your? I don't even know if I have sub badges. I'll be honest with you.
I'd like a curly whirly, please.
Yeah, so I'll get on that. Hang on. Make a sequel to Curly Whirlies, please.
Curly Whirly 2.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.